The following broadcast is intended for mature audiences. These are real people sharing very real, deeply personal experiences. This content may be considered triggering for others and for those who are sharing. The chat room is a privilege intended for discussions and sharing. You are not being asked to agree, but you are being asked to stay civil and refrain from personal attacks. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Am I Mental? Live podcast where real people talk about real issues, living their lives with mental health issues and things that impact mental health. I'm your host, E. With us tonight is the co-host, C.
Hello.
Bexy is out sick tonight. She sounded really bad. Like, normally, I'd be like, yeah, she's out sick tonight, but she'll probably jump into chat. I would be shocked if she jumped into chat tonight. She sounded really awful.
Sounds very worrisome. I hope it's not anything, super serious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we all do. We know that her health is not the greatest. It's a constant struggle for her, but she is doing the best she can, and hopefully she'll be back with us next week. I'll definitely keep checking in on her, and anybody that wants to reach out, you can do that through like the facebook.com/mentallivecast webpage, because we do have a Facebook page. You can reach out to us and we'll let you know how things are going, or even like you could do guest at amimental.net. That goes to all of us, or you could just do me, E, at amimental.net. Speaking of which, if you want to give us any additional help, share episodes. Let people hear what we're doing here. We are trying to remove the stigma from mental health and to help others that are struggling to realize they're not alone. As many of you guys have learned listening, just hearing someone else talking about their struggles makes yours a little more manageable. And especially for when there's someone that you can relate to, they may give you some ideas or suggestions of things that you've never thought of trying before. That said, if you want to help us beyond that, you could go to mimental.net/donate. There's a number of ways you could give, including, there's subscription-based, there's just one-time, whenever you feel like it, and we also have a merchandise shop. Outside of that, tonight we have Charlotte for our season finale.
Yeah.
The season finale. Wow, I didn't know that, but thank you.
Yep, and we're here to talk about complex PTSD or PTSI and the stellate ganglion block.
Yes. I first heard about the stellate ganglion block, otherwise known as SGB, while watching a episode of the Doctors TV show, and started researching it right away because I don't even know. I'm 61, and I don't even know what life is like without PTSI. I didn't realize it stretched back as far as I did until I started getting heavily into EMDR therapy, and when we realized that it actually stretched back to probably before my, when memories were developing, which is really sad.
Wow, so that's like 3-4 years old.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
and I realize now that so many things, as things have started to come out, I have a pretty good memory. I mean, that's what PTSI is. You can't let go of the memories, and they're in crystal clear detail, unfortunately, a lot of the time.
And this is one of those
I would
times
say-
this is one of those things I'm glad I can't relate. Like, I am very thankful for that.
Yeah, and when I first was diagnosed with it, we talked about a dark sense of humor previously. I definitely have one. I'm also a cheerful, happy person, but I definitely have a dark sense of humor. And I think you're right. It has to do with, survival.
Yeah.
Because you can't believe, number one, that this is happening to you. You're not, but we're more than a statistic. There's more of us out here, but that people would think, but so many of us aren't talking because of the stigma. And I'm so
Right.
sick of the stigma. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it from family. I'm sick of it from friends. Yeah, we support mental health. I'm like, no, you don't. I know you don't. Firsthand, I know you don't.
Like, you support it in name only.
Yeah, until it comes time to really give it. Oh, this is ours, part of our monkeys. Oh, this is our circus. Damn. Okay, it's not somebody else's monkey this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
I mean, these are don't just because it's attached to you now it's going to be some kind of shame. And people say, well, I don't want to be that person. I say, then don't.
Yeah, I mean,
Have the courage not to be that person. Stop feeling ashamed.
exactly. And don't feel ashamed because someone in your family or someone close to you is struggling.
Right. It doesn't help us.
No,
It does
it's
not
amazing
help
how just listening can help so much.
I know everybody thinks it has to
Right.
be a monetary gift, but it doesn't have to be a monetary. When you're helping somebody, it doesn't always mean monetary. It means you're just there sometimes. And sometimes it's more than a few minutes. Sometimes you really have to go into the long haul. But it might save somebody's life, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
Be there. Be present. Be
Yeah.
really there.
exactly. And also, if you call and it gets sent to voicemail, don't take it personally. Sometimes the struggle is so
Right.
much that we don't want to answer the phone. And we feel guilty. Oh, God, I get racked with so much guilt when I
Me too.
ignore a call or send it to voicemail, but I just can't answer it.
For that moment. And, maybe in an hour you're going to be ready to go. But at that moment, for
Or a
whatever
day,
reason,
or a
yeah,
week,
you just can't.
or a month.
Right.
It's really,
Or
you just
longer.
never know.
yeah, and it's nothing personal. It's just like I personally I love people, but I personally I realize I need a lot of alone time to just decompress. I don't know if that's the empathetic part of my nature or what. And because I'm hyper vigilant, just not for myself, but I see trouble coming for others sometimes too. And it's not my business, unless they want me involved. You know what I'm saying? You know?
Yeah.
and it's like, just gotta try to extricate myself from some situations, and so I can pace myself, because I don't want to start crying, and not be able to stop or something like that.
Right.
And I have those times, and it sucks. I don't want it to be that way. It just is sometimes.
Yeah, for me, with my depression and SAD and anxiety, I will emotionally flatline before I have a break. It's like I have a flatline, and then I just emotionally just downward spiral like a plane crashing, into the ocean. It's all sorts of bad when I finally have it come unglued. I'm working on it. I'm trying to be able to nip it in the bud, and then try to find healthy ways to feel before it gets to that point. Sometimes it's like you don't even realize it. It just creeps up so slowly and quietly.
And then all of a sudden,
Right.
You're like,
Anxiety.
one day you're like, hey, I don't feel squat. Uh-oh.
It's like the
yeah.
eye of the storm, huh?
Yeah.
Then pow, Mount Vesuvius.
Yep.
I will try to be I would cry, okay? So I will try to be very careful to not be around toward the Mount Vesuvius. I love ya, but the Mount Vesuvius, I would probably be like, you'd be like Mount Vesuvius, and I'd be like,
Except that with me, it's not like an anger eruption. I mean, it can be what triggers me having the emotional breakdown, and I just become a sobbing mess.
I understand.
And I am ugly when I cry.
Me too. And I mean, I stay ugly. Eyes stay swollen. I mean, it is not pretty. It is not pretty at all. It's like, oh my God, cracked mirror. Eyes swollen, nose all red, snot everywhere.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just a realist. I'll try not to keep it too real.
No, that's fine. That's fine. The more real and the more raw that we are, the better.
Yeah. It's amazing how many tears can come when you are in a crying jag, though, isn't it?
Yes. And it's amazing that even when you're dehydrated, there's still tears.
They're still coming.
Right.
It's like, I'm peeing toothpaste, but for some reason I can still get tears. No,
Yeah.
not really. Not that bad. Dear
I
Lord,
know,
not that bad.
That was funny. That was hilarious, actually.
Oh, well, thank you. So, basically, your whole life, you've struggled with PTSD.
Yeah, and I mean, it started with basic neglect. From what I pieced together, it started with basic neglect from my mom. Grandma didn't talk about it very often, but she said that she'd go over and I wouldn't have my diapers wouldn't be changed, and I'd just be in my own mess and stuff like that. So Grandma would, take over and stuff like that, help get me cleaned up and everything. And then Mom was very physically abusive. So and I realized, over time, if you have these cycles going on in your life, as you may know, even if you're a good person, you're going to attract the wrong people without help.
Yeah.
You're going to attract more predators and more abusers, mostly. They just seem to spot us like low-hanging fruit,
I think so. And I also think that there's a certain, that familiarity of, the devil that you know.
Yeah. Man, I tell you, my mom, and nobody knew. Even now, some of her friends, after she passed away, she died intestate, hadn't spoken to me in years. I mean, after all that abuse and stuff, even though I tried to be there for her, I had to go deal with all her stuff. And a couple of the closer friends, I said, look, I might seem like, I said, I love my mom and everything, even in spite of everything, but there were big issues, that you just didn't know about. And I ran away from home at age 14. I was trying to survive, even though I was getting bigger and she wasn't beating me as much. It was enough. And to me, I was already, I'd already gone through dad's friends who were sexual predators, babysitters' husbands who were sexual predators. I mean, they never got to where they wanted, but it was close enough, and there was touching involved. It was enough to scar me in that arena, to where, it's just like, are all men like this, or all males like this?
Fortunately, no, but man.
But,
it's that birds of a feather.
Yeah, they're
Right.
it's like, it was just like, how much has to be loaded down on me? I just didn't know. And it got to the point where I thought I was cursed, literally. In fact, as a young teenager, or a young adult, actually, I had contacted someone, and they said, you're cursed. And I thought, I'm not surprised. When you get desperate, I'm not saying I was cursed. I don't know what that was, but it felt like it,
Right.
Yeah. No, I get that.
It felt like I was cursed because I was constantly running into people who were either mean or, just utter abuse. Either they were emotionally abusive, physically abusive, and in some cases sexually abusive. So I mean, I didn't have it, and I saw that there was good in the world and stuff, but I just wasn't connecting it to how my life should be, I guess. I'm still learning about where my head was at when I was a kid, because you're a kid, you shouldn't have to deal with all these problems.
No.
But I did.
Right.
It just made my life a living hell, basically. And, I ended up with a very abusive first husband who was, horrendous. On the pie chart, they have a pie chart where each section will show, different stages of abuse, like they're isolating you from your friends or your family, that sort of thing. Well, my ex-husband had everything and more. And I was like, wow, my husband has everything on here, and here I could add a few things. And I told him, and at that stage, I had taken the 3 kids to the shelter, and it was just down the street from my little house, actually. But I had finally left. I had been planning to leave, but I don't want to digress too much from your questions either. I'm not trying to jump ahead too much.
No, that's fine.
It's like, this is what's going through my head at the moment. There's just so much to remember, and I wish I could forget a lot of it. But
I bet.
I bet.
My husband had said something really horrible to me during a phone conversation, and this son of a bitch, god damn him, I'm sorry, but he is still trying to get in my kids' lives. And it's like, you know what, I left for damn good reason. He's on medication, and his family's sticking up for him now, and it's like, yeah, you wouldn't have stuck around either if your husband said, he was trying to get me to have relations with my son, who was 9 at the time.
What?
Yep. And I was like, and I'd already put 500 miles between us. And I said, I'm not doing this for you. I'm not doing this for you. And I said, if you feel this way about me, how do you feel about the girls? Because I had 2 little girls at the time. One was like 4 or 5, and the other one was just a couple of years. Oh no, she was even just months old. So I don't want to name any names, but
that's fine.
This is what he said to me. And now trigger alert, okay? Trigger alert for anybody who is triggered by sexual abuse or anything like that. Don't listen right now. Stop listening, okay? Just for a few minutes. You have time to turn off. 1 to 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. I said, if you feel this way about me and our son, how do you feel about the girls? And he said, would you rather have somebody else banging them?
Oh.
God, I hate humans sometimes.
I know, right? I'm just like, I'm just like, oh my God. I said, you could do whatever you want to me, but you're not hurting these kids. That's it. And he said, you're going to come with me. He goes, I'm driving up there right now. Pack your stuff, and I'm coming to get you in the morning. And I thought, I just hung up the phone on him. And then I called the lady that I'd been talking to at the shelter, and I said, look, I know we've been planning this because he's really crafty this way, but because, we felt that we had to plan my leaving, even though I had hundreds of miles in between us, because we just never knew what to expect from him. He could just show up, whatever. And she came and got me and the kids and took us out of the home that very night within the hour.
Good.
Yeah. But you know, I encourage anybody in such situations to get out. I know what your background might be. You are worthy. Anybody listening who is contemplating not leaving, get out. You cannot change them. I tried for 13 years.
You're absolutely right.
Years, just with him alone. But anyway, yeah,
that's a common theme that we've had on the show too. You can't.
Yeah.
You can only change yourself, and you can change your surroundings. You can't change people.
A lot of times people will ask me now, why did you stay? Well, you got to remember, I'm 61. This is in the early 80s. If you turned them in, they were out in 24 hours, and your beating was going to be far worse the next time. They did not hold them, okay? That came in the coming years, not long after that, within the next decade, I think. But back then in the early 80s, you know, if you didn't press charges or something like that, see, now the state will. Even if you back out, the state would press charges on your behalf. Now, I don't know how backlogged they are either. There's tons of abuse out there, so,
right.
You know.
And it's like, for me, I'm not a big fan of the state automatically doing certain things, but in this case, go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's between mom's beatings and, you know, but, and everything else. I mean, it just, and then, let's not, once when Dad was stationed in Topeka, Kansas, winters were really, really cold, and we had moved into this really old, actually it was really cool, but if looking at it now, some people might consider it creepy, old, 2-story house, and Mom's up there in, I don't know if you ever watch American Horror Story, but
I haven't, actually.
I have.
Yeah, it's on my list.
I had to take breaks. Right now, I've been on a break now from that series for, I've gone on 2 breaks from it because it got to be too much for me. You know?
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
you have to stop.
That was me with The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh my God, I haven't gone back to it yet.
Yeah, I'm on about a year plus break on it still. I'm just like,
I want to know what happened to her, but at the same time, it's like, oh, how, but you could almost see this happening. It's so dystopian, but you could almost see it happening because of how twisted things have started to turn already, but.
And it's
anyway,
never an overnight thing. It's always gradual. And they're just showing you the end result.
I know. Well, it reminds me, this scene in my head, actually, unfortunately, I can take it out and play it anytime I want, such as the gift of PTSI, which I try to avoid, but I was 8 years old, and we're living in Topeka, Kansas. Mom was in the second floor bathroom, and it's since it's older, it's those large, wide open type of bathrooms, and there's a fluorescent light type of fixture, or one that was flickering, at least, old fluorescent, or some kind of flickering bulb, and above this old mirror, and Mom's combing her long black hair, and I can see her reflection as she's combing it, and she goes, Charlotte, and I'm just standing in the open doorway, sometimes I wish you were never born.
What the fuck? Sorry, but right? That requires the F-bomb there.
Now, let me tell you, it messed me up. Bad.
Oh, I can imagine.
I wonder.
I didn't think about it for years, okay, until it was unearthed by a very inconsiderate family member who said, they were having a conversation with me because I was struggling with somebody else, and they said, well, from what I can tell, your children don't even love you, much less like you. Yeah.
What the?
This is the kind of people I somehow end up, and they think it's okay, and the guy still won't own it to this day, but claims to be a love guru.
Right.
Of course he does. And does he also think he's an alpha male?
I don't know.
Sigma male?
But it
probably doesn't even know what a sigma is.
Probably not.
It triggered me so bad, and that memory came back up. Not that I'd forgotten it, but I hadn't thought about it for like years. I'd buried it really deep because it was so painful, and but then now, since he said that, for like 9 months, I just wanted to kill myself, because my family is everything to me. And I talked to my kids about it right away, and they said, "No, of course we love you." That, how kids talk, adult kids talk, sometimes, and they
Yeah.
might say things, but they don't really mean it. And I guess this person had taken some things too seriously and thought they knew what was what when they really don't,
Well, it's like when
And
a toddler yells, "I hate you." They don't really
Yeah.
hate you.
Right.
They just hate
But
they hate your authority.
yeah, it's like,
It's
and I'm like,
mad.
what did you think it was going to be? I said, who gave? And I tried to call him out on it. I was like, who gave you the authority to speak for these other people, And I said, I said, I came to that person later and said, this just pretty much almost destroyed me, because I had already been undergoing a character assassination by somebody else, that it sounds so crazy. It's like, people like, sure, you're not doing anything at all to attract these people in your life, but I swear to God, really no. It's just too complicated to go into it, but just too many of the wrong people taking every advantage they could,
Yeah.
Right.
just people who claim to be positive, but really aren't. I mean, just what I mean by hypocrisy. They say they're all about love and everything, but then they go out and it's like, if only your followers knew that,
Well, they're all about love of themselves.
yeah, it's really narcissistic, is what it is.
A lot of times.
It just.
And I'm not.
But anyway,
And I'm not
I
innocent from narcissistic stuff. I was. When I was younger, I was pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie. I still struggle with it a little bit.
But anybody can have those times, though. It's like, but the fact, if you realize that you're having those moments, and then you can put that part of yourself aside, table your ego for a little bit when you need to, that's still realizing the importance of what way you need to steer your behavior. At least you're realizing. And I give kudos to anybody, even if you feel like, hey, well, dang it, man, I was just thinking of myself. I shouldn't have done that. Well, kudos anyway, because you realized it, and you probably will think twice next time.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we do have Kat in the chat who is saying that she's related to some of what you're saying, but dropped a holy and the poo emoji. She doesn't swear. That's about as close to swearing as you're going to get from her that I've ever seen. But even that's. And that was over the your kids don't even love you. That's.
Yeah. And they don't understand my problem with them. It's like, what do you think? I said, do you think that I said, finally,
you tried to blow up my family.
Yeah. And in a way still is. So, but now my kids have now realized, they're adults. They now realize that there's some manipulation going on. So at least most of them. So, it's heartbreaking when you have manipulation by other adults going on. But I can't, people have to figure stuff out on their own. Sometimes, I mean, I'm not gonna, if the people know what, the person close to me knows what this person is guilty of. So, I mean, or what the possibilities are. So, beyond that, if people don't listen, then they have to they'll just have to discover for themselves. Once they've been warned, then, I've had to do that in this particular situation, unfortunately. It's sad when your loved one is in the clutches of somebody manipulative like that, but this is what it is. I'll be there when they see the light, and I'll just hug them and say, okay, let's move forward now.
Sorry,
that's all I can say about that.
Sorry, I just found out that my son just threw up.
Oh. Poor baby.
Yay. And my wife's like, how come you didn't tell me he was sick? He just puked on someone. I'm like, he was fine when I picked him up from preschool. He was fine while we played at the park. He was fine when we came home. And, yeah, he was fine. Anyway.
Yeah,
Does it have any
manipulative.
kind of temperature or anything?
No.
Or is it? Maybe it's just something he ate. Like his tummy is.
That's all I could think.
Yeah.
Because he
Maybe.
wolfed down some food before he left, so he may just...
Oh, he might have ate too much too fast.
Yeah.
How old is he?
Whopping 4 years old.
Yep. You know what? Kids will do that.
I still do that.
I
Not
know,
really, no.
yeah.
But I do
I
eat to where I'm like, oh, God, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I don't do that. But what I mean by saying it's like I know I'm going to eat whatever I want today, just today, and then at the end of the day, oh God, why?
Yep. And Kat
And it doesn't get.
And Kat
any
sent back,
easier.
I've dropped an F-bomb, but generally not often. Or here. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that
manipulative
wolf.
people are something else.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
sorry. Manipulative
there's
people
a
are
lot
the
of-
scum of the earth. I don't have any other way of putting it.
Yeah.
I don't understand why I've had to have so much come into my life, other than the only way I've been able to explain it is just either rotten luck or, because I mean, after a while you're like, wait a sec, is it just me? And they're like, nope, still checking, not perfect, but still not an asshole. So didn't deserve that, But you always have to self-police. Did I deserve? What might have done to have this little gem pop out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I think that it like the textbooks say. I mean, I'm just a really well-trained volunteer retired counselor of a couple of decades. It's got to be just attracting the wrong people, because once you've gone through stuff like that, it's almost like it's bait, and predators can smell us a mile away. I don't understand it, actually.
I kind of understand it in a sense. Sometimes you're just kind of born with those type of people, and then other times they just kind of get drawn to you like a moth with a flame, even though it's bad, but it
It
happens,
sucks,
sadly.
though.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's like you think, why me? Not again. And
Again,
Right.
I strongly think it's the devil that you know. Because it always starts out familiar, but not threatening.
it just makes you wonder
Right.
how many people really are like that, though. It's like, if I run into this much,
I almost don't
And I
want to
can't-
know.
yeah, it's terrifying when you think about it.
Maybe my cynical view on the world, but I have a feeling quite a few people are like that. Just quite a few of them hide it. They use
Yeah,
it
that's what I
behind
think, too,
closed
and
doors.
Super sad, though, man. Super sad.
It is.
So,
Mhm.
to kind of go forward a little bit on this topic, though, the
Right.
whole podcast. Excuse me. Sorry, I had a burp there.
That's okay. The stellate ganglion block.
Right, but I
Um,
mean, it's like, just kind of give us an idea of how bad your PTSD is. Like, how much it impacts your day-to-day and all
Every day. I wish I could say that. I wish I could say it wasn't every single day, but it is. It's every single day. There's some form of weight hanging over my heart, my mind, my soul. And I get through, and I have better days than others. But I would say I really don't know what normal is.
So
This is
basically,
the-
you live in permanent overcast. Some days the clouds are thicker than others, but there's always overcast.
Yes, and I don't even tell people that. You're the only person my husband knows that I suffer, but it's like pretty much every day, every moment. So, and I wish that wasn't. I wish that wasn't the case, but it is what it is.
Right. So, the stellar ganglion block. What is it? How is it helping? And let's talk about that a little bit. I watched a good chunk of that, or listened to the good chunk of that podcast that you sent me, that 23-minute one.
Mm-hmm.
I found it really interesting. Like, I wish I had time to finish the whole thing before the podcast. Because I'm sitting there, like, trying to cram it in. I'm like, no, come on, go faster, go faster. But yeah, so
Give me one moment, please, for just a moment.
Yeah.
You can fill in the rest for me, don't I? Like my hubby was ordering DoorDash. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
Okay.
Yeah, the stellate ganglion block mainly has been done for pain and hot flashes and the like for a long, long time. But it was stumbled upon as a PTSI treatment. And I do, even though PTSI and PTSD are interchangeable, I do prefer the PTSI because I was born normal and made abnormal by a series of events. And in the case with my ex-husband, 13 long years, I don't even know how I stayed, but I just felt I didn't believe in divorce, and I just felt like I had to stay and do the best I could. And it was, so I also know what not just abrupt interferences in your life, like for instance, sexual assault.
Right.
But like if you're in a really bad abusive marriage, that's every day, 24/7. I just wanted relief from. I just want relief from this. It's like a monkey on my back. That's it's just awful. When the doctor, I sent you the link for I can't remember his name, but the doctor that pioneered this in the United States.
Yeah, I have that. Oh, come on. Give me the... Dr. Eugene Lipov.
Right.
Lipov.
Yeah. His brother had sent him a case or something like that, and I guess he didn't think he was going to do it in the beginning, but then he started making these observations with people who had complex PTSD, other forms of PTSD, PTSI, and the relief that they were saying they were getting, when they might go in for something else, and have that needle injected and have the anesthetic injected into the ganglion nerve bundle area.
I was going to say, maybe we should tell people what the procedure is.
Oh, I do. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
It's okay.
Anyway, so yeah, you're lying. It's usually done by guided ultrasound. That's my understanding, at least, because I haven't had it done yet. I've just watched a lot of videos and that sort of thing, done a lot of reading and whatnot. You're laying on your back, and you're kind of head on. They're going to do it on the right side, and they're going to do it. I can't remember which cervical levels. I know one is C3, but that might be a second choice if it doesn't work at the first level they tried, which I just can't remember what level that is. And alleged that they guide the anesthetic in there. I believe it's why they can use other anesthetics, but I believe the greatest success has been found with ripovicaine. I think that's how it's pronounced. And pretty much instantaneously, actually, after they inject that, okay, and then they wait a little bit.
Yeah, they said it could from that podcast, it could happen in as little as 30 minutes after the injection.
Yeah, as little as 30 minutes, or it could be later that day, or even in the next day. That's if it's going to work. The sign of a successful procedure might be, or could be, a hoarse voice, but it will pass. They said a really bloodshot eye. In interviews that I watched on YouTube, I watched quite a few testimonials over time, as other people can just do a search for the stellate ganglion block for PTSD and PTSI specifically. If they look for regular pain, then you're going to get information on the other procedure that involves other situations in the body. Okay? So they want to definitely look for the stellate ganglion block in relation to PTSI or PTSD when they do their search parameters. But the needle will be inserted into and from the front into the back. It's near the base of the neck to these nerves, and you're numbed up. I've heard you're numbed up first, thank God. Anyway, and then 30 minutes or later, if it's going to work, you might have a little bit of a, if it's been successful, you'll have a swollen eyelid, a bloodshot eye, like maybe if you were stoned or something, because that's how it looked. It's that kind of redness, not drunk redness. It looks like specifically like they went and got stoned and on one side of their face only.
Wow.
Yeah. And the eyelid is somewhat puffy. That was my observation. I'd heard about these side effects, but I made note of them when I went to go look. I wanted to see how profound was this puffy eyes, and and it's like, because have you ever seen somebody who has a blood vessel burst in their eye?
Oh yeah.
And how red that is? I wanted to know, was it that kind of red or what kind of red? And I thought, okay, it just looks like somebody got stoned, only affected half of their face. Okay, got it.
That would be interesting, though, to be able to go like, you know what, I just want to get stoned on this half of my body.
But and a little bit of horse waste, which is supposed to pass. And
which also could because you got stoned.
Yeah. So hopefully, I've seen people wake up and or not wake up, but literally after the procedure look almost giddy, like they're just like you could tell, and they say a weight feels like it's going to lift it off of them. And I've also seen testimonials of people who it didn't work for, and heard and witnessed the sorrow. So people should go in with learn all they can and go in with eyes wide open, because the chances are good it will work, but I've heard chances as low as 70%. So up to 70% of people it will work for.
Right, and of course,
beyond that,
the doctor that came up with it, he was kind of hyping it up a little bit, saying 80%, but you expect the guy that came up with the procedure to hype it up just a little bit.
Every place else beside him, I've heard of 70%.
And still, 70% is nothing
it's still pretty damn good, though.
Yeah, it's nothing to be like, what, 70? Nah, dude, I want 80. No, you know what? 70 is awesome.
When I first heard about it, I thought it was a cure. And when I first found out I could have it, I was like, okay, we're doing this. Because I saw a commercial actually come across Facebook for Bella Institute, and they do a lot of these. I think they specialize in this specifically, actually. But I didn't want to have to travel to Vegas and stuff like that. So, and there's a bunch of clinics back east, and there's a couple in California, I believe. They're here and there, but I thought to myself, I'll just check, some of the Reno, like I live in northern Nevada. I don't live in Reno, but I can travel there much easier. Okay.
Right.
They have a pain specialist there, a group of pain specialists, and they said that, yes, they are familiar with doing it for PTSD. And I verified with them that they do use ripovicaine, or I think that's what it's called. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that's the drug. And that is performed on the right side, by the way. And it's guided. And sometimes people can, their eyes are shut, but I think you could actually, I saw one guy look like he was glancing over. I don't know if I could do that, but, where they, make sure they get the needle in just the right area. Because if they don't, they're just shooting it blind, and they can't have that.
Right.
It's got to go in that nerve bundle. I heard that there's a feeling of pressure, and it feels like that might, like the feeling of pressure might be uncomfortable. But then the person that mentioned that on one of the testimonials said that she was fine after that and felt a lot better. So
it was a short-term side effect, basically.
Yeah, that stuff is short-term. And when I found out that it might, if there's actually 30% chance, that it wouldn't work, I actually cried, because I thought, knowing my luck, I'll be, I guess I'm just a pessimist now. I try not to be, but so many things just don't work like they should. I mean, I've tried everything. Probably the best therapy I've tried for people who are interested is EMDR. They should be forewarned if EMDR, if they're not familiar with it, that you will be you'll be reliving your most trying moments. And you will be activating by either rapid eye movement to left or right, or by patting your arms left and right.
Yep.
To relive and reprocess the traumatic experience. But that can be a lot like eating your own vomit too.
So,
Reliving all your stuff all the time, you
Yep.
know.
And if you want, for people that are listening that may not have listened to the first season, episode 10 of season 1, Rachel is a therapist that was on, and she actually talks about EMDR.
Yeah, it can be really good therapy, and I would say, I will be continuing to do that beyond this. I've had it already, but I want to back up my this procedure. I hear it's a good idea to back it up with EMDR therapy. Going to do some more research on that because I'm not sure how I feel about reliving things constantly. But it does work. Even now, if a traumatic experience comes up, my therapist shared with me that if I cross, like, you almost give yourself a self hug and then you pat your arms, alternately, like you cross your arms over your chest and just alternate patting your arms.
Yeah.
You're activating the left and right side of your brain. So that's a great way to work through trauma as it's happening to you, if you or triggers, that sort of thing. But anyway, back to the stellate ganglion block procedure. That can be redone if necessary. I don't know if there's a limit to how many times it can be done, but it's my understanding that if some relief is found, or if complete relief is found, and then you relapse in, like in 6 months or years or whatever, because it's still under study. It's so new they don't even know how long
Right.
it could last.
Well, he was saying that there's
PTSD
one guy he's
patient.
been working with for 8 years before he
Yeah,
started
that's-
seeing some positive effects. So it
Yeah.
can take time.
I would advise people that if it gives them any relief at all, to do it again. If they're not happy with where, if, like, for instance, if I go here and I don't feel like they perform the procedure adequately, maybe they're more used to it for pain and they haven't done that many PTSD patients. I mean, it sounds to me like they know what they're doing. I'm going to be doing some more checking on them, but I have high hopes. I hope it works out, and I'd like to. I don't know how it's supposed to reboot. They say reboot, reset your brain to sometime before the trauma. But since mine started so early, I don't know. I'm obviously not going to be rebooted to 1 year or 2 years old or anything like that,
Right.
3 or whatever.
Right.
But if it can put you in a nice, healthy place, that's awesome.
Yeah, where my mind is more focused, and isn't it? I like you see that some of my thinking is scattered. I don't mean to be,
Oh, it
But-
is what it is.
My mind goes from one thing to another, but I mean, I'll come right back to stuff, and I don't mean to.
Well, I have ADHD, so it's actually pretty much the norm for me.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Thank you for understanding. I appreciate it.
Oh,
I'm
always.
basically terrified because I don't like needles, but I've been doing it anyway because
Understandable.
it has the highest, it has a really high success rate. I mean, when I first heard about it on the doctors, they were just doing it on military, mostly military personnel and some medical personnel. Like they did it for nurses and stuff like that. Because they obviously have to see a lot of traumatic things and it affects them.
Right.
So, yeah. I'm scared as heck, but then I would like to speak with you again after the procedure.
Oh,
to
we
see,
would love to get an update. And I think that would
Yes.
make a fantastic episode.
How did it work? And pray to God that I'm not one of the poor souls it doesn't work for, because I could just hear the despair in the one guy's voice. He said I still want to, tell people about the procedure because it hadn't really helped him very much, but he saw that it could have potential.
Hope.
Yeah, and he wanted to spread that hope anyway. But I could see the deep sorrow in
Oh,
him,
yeah.
and who wouldn't? Because you got that thing. I mean, if somebody told you could get rid of your mental illness tomorrow, just like you're going to be a different person. You're still going to be yourself, but you're going to be okay now.
You jump on
Like-
that.
Jump right on that and just like, oh my God, is this really happening? We're
I would
talking
be
about a
like,
life-
you know what? I will go ahead and
Life-
carve out my kidney if that's what you need for payment.
yeah, it's
Right.
a life-changing.
Right.
Yeah, this is a life-changing event. If it works.
Yeah. it's not to be too crude or crass, but yeah, hand me a scalpel. I will get the kidney myself. I don't know exactly where it's at, but I'll do the best I can.
Let me carve that sucker out here.
Yes.
Yeah, I figure like this. Even if it works for a little while, I will just go back and have it again. Just hopefully, I wouldn't want to be one of the. Obviously, some people it only works for a few weeks. You know, I don't know if they'd want to get a shot once a month or if they could even afford it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's about
Right.
$1,500, $1,500 to $3,000, I believe, depending on, where you get it done at.
Hopefully, insurance will start picking up the tab a bit.
God, they should. When
Hopefully.
I was actually frustrated because when I first saw the program, and I started doing research and followed up, I found out that the military had allotted some money toward it in the beginning, but it was very little comparatively to what they were using on other research. And I thought, my God, you got a chance to help all these veterans, and you're not firing everything you got at this thing. We bring home so many broken individuals, and we send them off to fight and break their lives, and then, say thanks. Here's your check.
Yeah, we had a pretty good talk about that last week too. About like the military, like the government's really good at wooing you into the military, but then when you're done, it's like, get out, go. But they'll be nice enough to drop you off where you want to go. And we have a wild Bexy who popped into the chat.
Whee!
And yeah, Kat has her fingers crossed for you. Bexy's saying definitely fingers crossed for you. Yeah, seriously, my fingers are crossed for you as well. I mean, relief. That would be amazing.
I know. I'm gonna go in for the evaluation, and they might have time that day, and if not, then they'll be. Hey, stop. If they might have time that day, or if not, it would be scheduled a week out, and then they would numb up my neck, and I'd just be laying there on the, on the gurney or whatever, and depending on where the screen is at, the doctor would be guiding with ultrasound and the needle to the ganglion area through the front side of the right side of the neck toward the back, where the areas you probably saw them on some of the videos I sent you,
yes,
links or whatever, and they check in on you to see how I've heard some places put you to sleep, and most places seem to keep you awake during the procedure. Though they numb you up, and allegedly they better. And then you just should feel pressure if there's anything. I'm going to be sure to report on that. I'm a redhead, so if there's, it's scientifically proven that we, need more painkiller than most. I don't know why, but that's what the studies say. So
that's interesting.
I know, isn't it? It's that's what is said. So. I've read articles, but now I can't quote any of it because I don't remember the several times I've read it, but it's easy to find on the internet. But, and it's proven true when I've had to go have teeth and stuff done, they've always got to give me more Novocaine. So hopefully nothing out of the ordinary happens with the procedure. It's a very well practiced, long practiced procedure, known side effects other than those few that pop up right after the possible hoarser voice. You're going to be slightly bloodshot on the right side and a poopy eyelid and maybe a little droopy eyelid too, but that's supposed to pass. And then I'll either feel better or I won't. I know that they do 2 stages at this particular clinic. So regardless of how I feel on the first shot, I still have to go back for another one. I think it's within 2 weeks. So I can certainly be touching base with you, and then maybe after both of the shots are done, we can do another thing or something.
Yeah, and I mean, even after the first one's done, if you have an update that you just want to share,
sure,
we're happy to go ahead and be like, yeah, so, Charlotte contacted us back, the one that was getting the, that block. Yeah, and like, here's where they're at now. We have no problem doing that.
I mean, I have seen, you can see the change in people because sometimes they do interviews before and after on the testimonials. And I've seen people literally, it looks like their world is ending, and they come out and they're still them, but they're not crying anymore. And they're laughing and they're happy, and they said that they haven't ever felt that way before. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even imagine that.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here going, I wonder if it works on depression. Because, like,
Right.
Maybe it would. Maybe it would. Who knows?
Anxiety.
Because they're
Yeah.
just now. This is a whole new. This opens up, I think, a whole new area of medicine where they could check to see, well, what else might be able to fix, on these other nerve bundles. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just, what else don't we know yet? Because it's a
Exactly.
game. Because according to even news programs, and I mean, watching so many testimonials already, and once you guys, and anybody who's paying attention and really wants to go research this, and you see the testimonials, it's a game changer. Rarely is there a medical breakthrough that is like this, where you can see almost immediate results, and in fact, immediate results in many. Some takes a little longer, but for the ones that it's going to work for, I mean, I think it's nothing short of a possible miracle for some of us.
I'd just be afraid that, with the cost of it, if it only lasted like a couple of weeks,
Then it wouldn't be. What would be the point?
I think I would be in worse shape afterwards, having felt normal and know it's possible, but can't afford it.
Absolutely.
Oh, I think that
can
would
totally
drive me
understand
mad.
that. One thing that they have mentioned, they said that one thing it can do is if it only does work for a shorter period of time, if you have have EMDR or some other truly effective therapy, EMDR is one of the better ones. If you can have all your baggage from your trauma set aside even for a month, they say you can make a lot of progress with traditional therapies like EMDR and other things, because you moved all that baggage out of the way temporarily, so you can work through it and be better afterwards. But it's still in such infancy. Who knows what they'll discover? Because it's a
Right.
procedure
Right.
that's been used for many decades for other things. They just discovered this accidentally, is my understanding, that it could work for,
Yeah, it sounds. It even sounded like the guy that kind of discovered it. He was using it for a different procedure, for a different thing entirely, and the guy was like, "Hey, doc, I feel good."
And I had this before, and I didn't feel good before, right?
Yeah, like I used to have PTSD, and I'm gonna say used to, because I feel good.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, it's like, I don't know, it's like I found a rainbow, and there might actually be a special pot of gold, and for me that would be not, having this cloud over me all the time.
Right?
Even when I'm feeling happy, it's still there,
Yeah.
I know it's
Right.
there. Other people might not notice it, but I know it's there.
Oh, I fully know it's there.
Oh yeah.
Something
Oh,
I
yeah.
recently discovered. I mean, here I am, like I say, I'm 61 years old. One thing that they kept mentioning time and time again that I picked up on, because I see patterns. That's spider hypervigilance, and the one thing I kept noticing is that people said that they were taking longer, deeper breaths. I don't ever remember taking very long, not regularly. I have to think about it. My breaths are generally pretty. I get enough air, but they're generally shallow. Always. And I found out that's a PTSD thing. That's a symptom of,
Really?
because yeah, it's weird. I was like, oh my God, this is how I breathe, like all the time. Because if you're observant, you notice other people's like they're not constantly breathing like this. What the hell's wrong with me? But it's your normal, so you just accept it and go on with life.
Right?
Yeah. And then it's like I kept noticing people commenting on that, and I'm like, wow, maybe that's why I breathe so shallow all the time. I feel like my brain is on 360 swivel. It is like constantly patrolling for danger. And I'll be the negative chatter that constantly replays. Like, I definitely don't need to replay things like your kids don't love you, or sometimes I wish you were never born. I need to move on, if I can.
I mean, I've had my dad said some fucked up things to me when he was younger. And like, I mean, it's like looking on it now as an adult myself and having adult children myself and all that. I could kind of see where he was coming from at that time. Let's just say I was a surprise and I'm the first. And I don't think he was ready to give up his life as being, newlywed, married with a wife, being able to go see the world and all that, and just have that just gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's scary how sometimes some people can say things that just stick.
It's emotionally devastating. You're killing a person's soul. You're strangling their soul at that point in time. And we really do have to be careful. I mean, I had to it was so hard just to hang on after that. As a kid, I think I was numb and hurt and freaked out and just felt like utter rubbish, most of the time. And I mean, I was an only child. I was very tiny, very pale, and had really bright red hair, and my name was Charlotte. And let me tell you, kids are relentless.
Yes.
Relentless.
Yes.
So there was very, very little comfort there. I mean, I was just felt very forsaken for a long, long time. I had my grandmother, though, to help kind of pull me through, but when I look back on I'm just telling you, man, there's just times I just wish I wasn't here. I think that anybody who's ever...
You know how that feels.
Yeah, you just think that, who's going to miss me if I'm gone?
Oh, I would.
I know, I'm sorry, and I miss you too. I'm not trying to depress anybody.
Oh, I know.
But I'm not
No.
I'm not in that place right now, but sometimes that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That still pops in my head at times. I hate it, but it's there.
Yeah, like, I've been doing pretty good, but I still think about death and wanting to die.
Yeah.
I mean,
it
just kind of happens.
We've had episodes where that was happening with you.
And but it's not safe to tell people all the time that you feel that way. If you feel like you can carry yourself through because, I understand, people have to call, but, if somebody's really in danger, but sometimes people just need to talk.
Yeah.
And they don't need to have that threat hanging over them that somebody's going to come and take them out of the only freaking comfort zone they have, their space,
Yeah.
That's a real concern for people who are really struggling.
Yeah. For sure.
I understand that too.
It has to be safe for them to come forward.
Well, yeah.
At the same time, you have to make sure they're safe. It's a dicey area. I mean, I had to go through that too, like during the whole, because I was a mandated reporter for a long time. And if somebody was in danger, then I would need to call the authorities to make sure they didn't harm themselves or somebody else, or if there's some kind of abuse going on. Nobody wants to do that work, but sometimes you have to. After my first husband is when I went to go get training to do volunteer crisis counseling to help get other people out of bad situations like mine sooner, so they didn't waste 13 years of their life. That sort of thing. Get out more whole.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it too was like long term, like you said, you didn't believe in divorce. I became a believer in divorce, having had one thrust upon me. So, and seeing how life was on the other side of it. But I get the not wanting to, because I mean, that's like, I was raised pretty traditionally with my family. And then, of course, on top of that, they have that whole thing with, known as like battered woman syndrome.
Oh man, I had it bad too. I had it bad, and it was so crazy too. I mean, my ex-husband never could make it up to the court date, and they kept having to postpone it and postpone it and postpone it, and finally he pulled it again, and he had sent his first lawyer had fired him, and he had hired somebody else. She came in all glaring at me and everything, as if I hadn't gone through and wasn't already going through enough. You know, because I was in a women's shelter, still scared to death of this guy. I mean, the lady who took me into the women's shelter, she noticed that every time a motorcycle came by, my whole body froze up, and it's because he rode one. You know?
That's not normal.
You know, and when I was first diagnosed with PTSD, which is way into my adult life, I mocked it, actually. And I have a huge amount of guilt over that, because I was like, PTSD, you mean... And I have a deep respect for veterans. My dad served in Vietnam. But I said, you mean what war veterans have?
What used to be known as shell shock?
Yeah. It used to be... It was shell shock way back before even my time. That's what they called it. And then it evolved into something else as they renamed disorders and things like that.
It's usually due to, understanding more.
Yeah, and that's good. And, I mean, have you ever seen some of the photos some more? Oh, my God. Some of the looks, there's one guy who's just grinning from ear to ear. You could tell he's gone mad.
Yeah.
You know, just so awful, so horrible. And anyway, she said yes. And I said, I didn't believe her. I thought, no. It couldn't, I just didn't have enough information in me at that point. But a situation came up not long afterwards. Like, I don't have flashbacks like I'm there all of a sudden, like physically, and like you see some war veterans and other assault victims will suddenly, they're not really there anymore. They're someplace else, literally. They're reliving what they witnessed. Okay, they might be holding an invisible gun. I've seen that, stuff like that. They're there. They're not with you anymore, literally. I've only had one flashback like that, and it was I was really just crossing the street to go to the to get money out to buy a printer, actually, and it was dusk, and I remember it really well. There's a highway patrol little station there, just a little check-in station, a little intermediary office for them.
Right.
And there was a guy there that looked like my ex, but not really. But all of a sudden, I mean, my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, he said my face and demeanor and everything just completely changed. And I swear, this guy was hundreds and hundreds of feet away from me still. But it was like, you ever seen a horror movie with all of a sudden, like, the victim, all of a sudden it's like the faraway, distant thing that's awful is telescoping toward them.
Yes, that's known as
right there.
Yeah, that's known as the Hitchcock zoom.
Oh, is that what that is? Oh my God!
Alfred Hitchcock developed it. It's an extremely difficult thing to pull off, but amazing when you see it. Mentally,
that's how it felt. I still remember it to this day. Suddenly, that police officer was not a police officer. That was my ex-husband, and I was just a quivering mess. Okay, just scared to death right then. Because that's how my life was with him. And then my husband, not my now husband, said, "It's okay, calm down. What's wrong?" And I said, "It's him. It's no, it's not him. It's not him." And he was really calming and everything else. And finally, I just came back to myself, and that's the only time that's ever happened. But I knew then that she was right. I have a lot of other symptoms, like certain smells, certain sounds, certain circumstances.
That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, they really take me back sometimes. it can just be PTSD, PTSI, whatever people are comfortable calling it, is a living hell. It really is. I'm glad I don't have the flashbacks like that one all the time, like some of the war vets, because it's got to be just awful, and
Hell.
it's difficult. Yeah, and it's a personal hell. It really, really is. And I can't say, unfortunately I have been exposed to Vietnam War era photos unretouched when I was a kid. I was already well on my way through my PTSD journey by then. I just didn't know it yet. And even that was just another level. So that was my taste as what wartime vets go through, because I can't get the pictures out of my head. Mostly one. So I can't even imagine people who have actually who have been there and killed people and seen bodies blown up, that sort of thing.
Where it's not just a picture; it was real life.
Yeah, I mean, I can repeat in perfect detail what it looks like for a guy to be blown in half and his insides to be hanging out. Because I don't want to, but that's the impact it had on me. I should have never seen those photos, but I did, and it wasn't purposeful. But it made me. It gets my dander up when some people who are really ignorant. I have some people that I know, some friends. They're like, "Well, at least it's not wartime PTSD." I'm like,
PTSD is PTSD is PTSD.
Right.
Exactly.
Slap in the face. I'm like, man, are you kidding me? And then I would tell them that. I said, here's what I witnessed. So that was my taste. It doesn't equate to wartime combat PTSD, I'm sure. It's just different PTSD. But what are you going to tell somebody who's been gang raped that their PTSD isn't as valid as, you don't know what a person's been through. Why do they have their PTSD? Most of us don't go into great deal. There's things I'm not talking about because it will be too graphic for people.
Right.
But we don't know why a person has their PTSD or their PTSI. It might not be just an auto accident, which is bad enough. They might have been raped by their father, or they might have been gang raped, or they might have been beat up to a bloody pulp and survived it. We don't know. And so we shouldn't judge. It's ignorant to say things like that. So that's another thing I want to educate people on, that we should always, let's not be armchair psychiatrists. I mean, like, as much as I learned and as much training from professionals as I had, I still only a volunteer. Albeit I've been told a good one, I was still just a volunteer. And if anything got serious, hey now, stop that. And you have to defer to the doctors,
Well, I mean, the doctors are trained to be able to handle this stuff and help guide you through it, and yeah.
Right. And hey now, shush. But that's not to say that there aren't some bad doctors and therapists out there. There certainly are. Just like there's bad cops out there. We just have to winnow those out. And there's going to be times that people go get help from a mental health professional or volunteer. They're not happy with that person, and maybe they just don't click. And that's okay. It happens. Just like you have people you meet in your life.
I told my kids, if they don't feel comfortable with their therapist, the therapist is not going to be able to provide them quality care.
Right. Absolutely.
You have to be comfortable. You have to have that trust.
Yeah, you have to have the trust. Absolutely.
Right.
And it's sad to say that sometimes I've run across some. I've liked all the mental health professionals I've ever seen, but I've known people who've had some bad ones, who have said they've done this and that, and I've said, well, it's time to get it somebody else then, because you're paying out money and it's not helping you. And in some cases, in some very few cases, there's a few that are just as abusive as the people that abuse the patients to begin with.
Sometimes the therapists need more therapy than the people they're treating.
Yeah, I think they got somehow at some point in time. Well, it can. They kind of caught the illnesses that they were trying to help, or maybe they were always sick and just.
Right. I think that's probably what it is that they got into it because they had their own issues.
Yeah. And that's okay, because a lot of, too, sometimes there's some good therapists that come out of that. However, there are instances that they never broke the cycle. They just perpetuate it.
Yeah.
And then, if you're creating more victims and creating more victims and creating more victims, you would think that something that is so painful upon one's person, I just accept it, but I always was puzzled, no matter what I studied, it was always came back to one thing, the cycle. And if the individual doesn't break it, and move forward, they could become abusers themselves. And you would think, well, this hurt you so bad. Why have you now become the monster you feared and hated? But it happens a lot.
It happens too much.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
In fact, most situations always start with the fact that no matter, I'm not saying have pity for for people who have caused so many traumas of that nature, but like say sexual abuse or something like that. But their own issues likely started with abuse. And there is a very good clinic in California, and nobody's going to want to hear this, but because the minute we hear of a sexual predator, we just want to beat them with a stick,
Yeah.
bam, But wouldn't it be better to cure them if we could?
I agree.
Yeah,
So
it would.
the success rate until recent decades of sexual crimes was probably about, I'm not a doctor, but it's very low. It's under 5%. Okay. Just because with sexual addictions, which was one of my specialties, because I had a sex addict in my life and I needed to know I wanted to know how to deal with that stuff. So I had that side specialty. And for a long time, a couple of years, I was an online counselor to help people not act out, because people want to make fun of it, but pornography and I'm not saying sex is a great thing, okay? I'm not saying anything like that. Nothing prudish at all. But it can be a sickness too. People are just spend hours and hours and hours watching.
Sex addiction is a real thing.
Oh my God, so many people laugh at it, but it is. I try to tell people it is releasing some of the most powerful chemicals in the world that we have tried to duplicate through artificial means with LSD and that sort of thing. That's how strong our brain chemicals are. We want to duplicate that stuff. That's where the magic happens. So we make LSD and stuff like that.
Well, for a while there, we used to laugh about gambling addiction. Like, how can you be addicted to something that's not a chemical? Well, look at it.
It is releasing a chemical. It's releasing the chemical. It's releasing the best chemicals known to man in your brain, and you can be high for days on those chemicals.
Yep, and it's not that you're how to say it best. It's not that you're addicted to the act; you're addicted to the response.
Yeah, it's so crazy, and it's destroyed lives. It might cost marriages, because people doing things they shouldn't be doing too often. It can be a dark past, and there's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of, as you know, a lot of crossover addiction, from gambling to sex to promiscuity, might be to drugs, illicit drugs, anything that, whatever your personal drug is, it could be illicit drugs, it could be promiscuity, gambling. There's so much.
Anything that gets you that buzz.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of shame and stigma attached to any type of sexual addiction. So naturally, people struggle to get help. But there's a clinic in California that treats people and has had can't remember the name of it, but someplace in Southern California. They've been going for decades and have a really good success rate, even for sexual predators, if caught early enough and with the proper psychotherapy. I'd still never leave them alone with a child ever again, but if we could get them to where they aren't, acting their things out anymore, then think of the lives we could save there, because that would lessen mental health issues automatically, because a lot of PTSD is related to sexual assault.
Yeah. And actually,
Right.
Kat mentioned about, you said, wouldn't it be better to heal them or cure them? And she said, yes, after beating them with a stick.
Yeah,
But
I feel the same way. I feel the same rage, okay? But I realize that if we...
I do have a degree of where if it involves children, we've had this discussion before on the podcast too, is that
I just want to kill them myself.
Yeah, there's MAP and there's no MAP. MAP means minor attracted person. No MAP means no contact minor attracted person. I can respect the no MAP. They recognize that there's something not right, and they're doing what they can to prevent themselves from ever harming a child.
They could go to a clinic like that and get even more assistance.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I am 100%, they have my support. You're not going to see my kids, but you have my support.
Absolutely, nor should they.
Right. Now, the ones that are MAP, the ones that don't explicitly say that they're no contact, yeah, I have a problem with you.
I do have a problem with them, absolutely.
I have a very deep problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should. That's our natural instincts kicking in. But if you can fight back those instincts enough to, to where, to see that maybe people could get help, and not harm others other way, and then create other people like themselves, it's perpetual.
Right.
It's really hard. It's really hard. And the minute you say heal them, people say, no, we just want to kill them. And I understand. I feel it too.
It's like I don't want answers. I want violence.
Yeah, I understand. That's natural. That's perfectly natural in my opinion.
Especially when it comes to kids, it is. And I mean, that's for me, again, like this is my personal stance. It's not the podcast stance or anything, and I'm not saying it's even the right stance. Mine is the moment you cross that line and you touch a child, even once, I'm sorry, you are not fit to stay in society anymore, because you run the risk of relapse, and that no.
Yeah, but what do you do with them then? Because they're dropping the ball. I mean, there's so many times. How many? If you do like a Google alert, and find out how many cases there are where they just let the people go again. It's like, oh well, we couldn't prove it, so here you go on your merry way, and it's like, I pray to God that the adults around that person, because they're going to have family and friends, right?
Right.
Now they're out. Don't ever, people need to be aware, because that way they never let their kids alone with those people again.
But I mean,
I'd also agree that authorities are dropping the ball.
If it can't be proven, I mean, our nation is built on, due process.
Absolutely, and it should be. So we don't just kill people and lynch them for no reason.
Right.
Absolutely. And there's so many people who abuse it too. Like they'll say people did things when they didn't. That's right.
That makes me angry more than I get more angry about the lies about that kind of stuff than I do about the people that actually abuse.
And they have to, and see, and as a mandated reporter, I understood even that when you call or when you notify the authorities on a situation or suspected situation, they have to go out within 3 days. But if imminent danger is in place, they can come immediately and, take kids out of the home. Imminent danger means, as a fact that they aren't going to be, you don't have time to wait, in other words.
Right.
But most cases, they have up to 3 business days to go to the home.
Oh, cool. So if you call in on a Friday and it happens to be a holiday.
Well, I'm sure they send police right away. At least hopefully. But
I hope so.
It's amazing how many people just get put back on the streets.
But I mean, I agree with you 100%. But it's that whole thing of what Benjamin Franklin said. I would rather have 100 guilty people walk free than one innocent be punished.
Exactly. And there are innocent people in jail,
right?
Unfortunately.
And fun fact, that actually comes
Right.
from his study of Voltaire, who opined similar but said 10-to-1 ratio. Ben Franklin upped the ante and did 100-to-1 because that's how much he felt, like that's how important it was to him.
Yeah, innocents should never suffer. Okay, they just shouldn't.
Never.
Mm-mm. And even if have you ever noticed that whenever they're wrong about somebody, and then they get out, but then their lives are ruined. You know, it's like you didn't. You know, not everybody gets the memo that I didn't do that. You know.
Right. Well, it's kind of like with the
can't-
news. It's like, you hear about like you hear the bad thing. This happened, but then you find out, oh, that actually didn't happen. Then they have the little editorial note in a later issue going, oh, we were wrong here, but they don't put it in big bold headlines. We were wrong, so no one knows that they were wrong.
Oh my God, I know. You remember that horrible Boston bombing, the running?
Yeah, of course.
Now, hold on one moment. I'm sorry. Stop. I know somebody's here, but Dad's going to take care of it. You quiet. Sorry about that.
No worries.
But it was it was a Boston Marathon or whatever.
Yeah.
And they had the bombing and from terrorists or whatever. There were pictures that I found from a photographer who was there, present at the time, and bones were sticking out and everything. Our news, I posted that, I shared it, and I had a nurse get on and say, there is no way that's really happening over there. And she said, I'm an ER nurse. And I said, yeah, but you're used to regular injuries.
Yeah.
This is wartime injuries.
Yeah,
and
this
she
is
said, "Nope, it's not."
explosives.
This is explosives. Well, then the news came out and they had airbrushed that out and just put a guy in the wheelchair. Okay, because the guy was still conscious, even though his bone was sticking out, which can happen. I mean, most of the time you're going to pass out.
Well,
but he was still.
If you watch, if you're a fan of the NFL back in the 80s, it was like late 80s, early 90s, Joe Theismann got tackled by Lawrence Taylor. You could see his bone sticking out.
Yeah, which was it? The leg bones? One of the leg bones?
Yeah, it's the shin.
Ooh, ow.
It was a compound fracture that ended his career, and then it was like almost to the same day, same stadium, same down and distance. Like it was almost identical. Alex Smith had it happen to him, but because of modern medicine, he was able to go back out and play another season.
Wow.
But for Joe Theismann, it was a career ender. I mean, he was awake, but you could see his shin bones sticking out.
But she argued and argued with me, and then our news did not help because they brushed all that out, and it didn't come out until like a week later that they got busted. No, I don't know why they felt like the American public could not handle seeing that particular photo.
I'm sorry I get it. It's bad. It's grisly. Let us see it.
Yeah, they literally airbrushed it out. Do you think she came back and said, "Oh wow, you really were right. This really did happen"? No.
Probably just vanished.
Nah, I'm just goofing off there, but I mean, I mention it because you mentioned earlier of the media and how they manipulate things, and that's one example, that I literally witnessed myself. Well, I mean, albeit through photos and stuff, but still. And then it came out that's like this particular photographer took this photo, and yes, this is the real photo. And I'm like, those bastards airbrushed that out. Not in Europe. They only did it in America.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember the was it the Valentine's Day or it was a Friday the 13th, like February, the French got attacked really hard in Paris. It was their version of 9/11. Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, they pulled no punches on their photos.
Yeah, just put it out there. People need to know what's going on, what's really happening. There's so many, I haven't watched a lot of news of late, just been living my life. But I go through spats of where I'll just, watch a lot of news, but then I'll want to watch news from different places like Al Jazeera and, our standard news like NBC or whatever, CNN or whatever, just at Fox, just compare them all, a couple of other foreign out providers, just to see the different versions,
Yeah, I tend to follow independent journalist more than anything. But I still go and check what the mainstream's saying.
Yeah.
I'll check Fox. I'll check MSNBC. I'll even check Russian Times. I'll check Al Jazeera. I'll check the BBC. I'll check Sky News over in Australia. I want as many sources from as many places as I can.
What's really going on? And a couple of
hey,
things.
Dink.
Huh?
We just had Dink jump in on the chat. So I just said, hey, Dink.
Am I supposed to be seeing some kind of words, or is that...
No, we just read it off.
I'm just making sure.
But yeah, we did have a lot of support for the follow-up episode.
Awesome.
Yeah, and
I hope it works. I'll be honest, if it doesn't work, it's just not meant to. I mean, traditionally, I have a hard time with anesthetics for some reason. Mostly pain pills and stuff like that. I just can't take them, which is fine because I wouldn't want to be addicted to opioids anyway, and I probably would be with my current physical issues.
There was two new studies that just came out this week about opioids. I haven't gotten a chance to read through them, but I've heard that they kind of condemn the narrative. So I want to read what they are, though.
Right, because we're kind of hurting. The people who really need opioids are suffering.
Yeah, they really need them.
Yeah, I will say, like, I can't take them, but for those who need them, and I'm like, give it as much as they need. If they got they've got cancer, give them their medicine.
Oh, they have severe back pain, and went through 3 fusions, and it still hasn't helped. Yeah, let them have their opioids.
Yeah, I wish I could sometimes take opioids because I had a disc blow a couple of years back. I haven't been able to walk right since. I can barely feel my feet. It's a nightmare. It's just another battle I'm fighting, and it sucks because I was pretty, I did a lot. I mean, I wouldn't say I was like athletic or anything, but I mean, I was active and running around and living life and stuff like that. Just got up one morning and couldn't walk.
Yeah.
I mean, I could barely stand. I mean, the pain was that great.
And Dink said, Americans live with blinders on to the violence in other countries. Amen to that. You look at our news and you'd swear that we're the only country in existence.
Not me, man. Not me. I go check it out. And I have friends that I check with. I have Egyptian friends that, how we met is kind of a long story, but, their mosque, or not their mosque, but I guess it is a mosque, got blown up. But they had just come from worship. They were okay, but I had checked on them and stuff. But I mean, sometimes I will ask them what's really going on over there because they are there and I'm not, or other people I know who are actually in that part of the world, in Egypt or other places, just to find out what's really happening. Is this what's really going on? And sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, it's like, have a friend over in Australia that's like, that was in Sydney going, yeah, we got locked down, like, to where we had the National Guard and the military all up in our business.
Oh, yeah. Or when COVID first hit, okay, and we were all trying to get word from people in China of what's really happening, what's going on over there, because we just had what we were being told,
Yeah.
And the people who disappeared trying to talk about it, I still don't know what happened to some of those people.
Yeah,
not that I knew people who were trying to get the word out to the world, not people I knew personally, to be clear. But it's like, that's scary shit, man.
Yeah. If you're familiar with, it's a more conservative news outlet. They definitely do put their conservative spin on the news, but for the most part, they're pretty straightforward, pretty truthful. Is Epoch Times. Back when they first started, they focused almost exclusively on what's going on inside the CCP. They actually had their offices raided and burnt to the ground, and all their journalists thrown in jail.
I've heard of them, yeah. Wow.
Dink just said, I had family and friends in Kuwait when the war happened in the 90s. Yeah, I think that was the one time that we were actually still decent at international news. I was a paperboy at the time, so I got to read all the headlines as I was folding everything up.
Yeah. I remember things like Reagan and, you know,
I still
Whitewater and Nixon and all that stuff.
I still giggle about the speech that Reagan was giving right after he had been released from the hospital after being shot.
Oh, man.
And a balloon popped, and he didn't even flinch. He just said, "You missed me."
You know what? I gotta say, he's probably the only president I ever kind of liked, you know?
He
I'm
was
partyless.
funny.
He was an awesome guy. Bro. I heard he was a good person, too.
That's what I heard too. But I mean, it's like I went through and just watched a bunch of historical clips, and it was like on YouTube, like the Reagan's funniest moments. Like I was seriously laughing my ass off. He was a genuinely funny guy.
When he was getting elected in, you know, they were saying, well, you know, he's an ex-Hollywood actor, da-da-da-da, and they didn't have much confidence in him because he was an ex-Hollywood actor, but I think he was one of our most popular presidents ever.
And he was a good governor, too.
Yeah, he was, actually. I remember.
Dink was sitting there going, he was awesome. He was a real human.
He was.
He was.
That might be, you know, and you could tell. That's the thing. You know, I can't say that I mean, I'm pretty observant. I feel like I have to be, you know, it's part of that hypervillage. It permeates everything, it seems. You know, I just pay attention to people's mannerisms, and most presidents I don't like. I'm partyless. I'm the right man for the job, or woman, whoever. You know, right man or woman for the job. I don't care whether you're a Democrat or a Republican.
Yeah, the right person is the right person is the right person.
For the job, yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm with you 100%. I vote on the issues. I don't vote on the party.
And I wish to God they'd write their own damn speeches. And you find out that they had their speeches written. It's like, I'm electing you to run the country. I'm helping to elect you to run this country. And you can't even speak for yourself. I want to know their words. I don't want to hear from their speechwriter. Back in the day, people used to write their own speeches. Not anymore. That was evident when Melania Trump gave her speech. And it was great when I heard it. But then they said, wait a minute, somebody noticed who pays attention to these things, said, wait a minute, this is almost the same word for word exact speech that so-and-so did backhand. And then they showed them side by side. And I was just like, no, they didn't. Why?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. A lot of plagiarism, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then
I understand. Go get your ideas for shit, but then make it your own.
Yep.
You know, at least make it your own.
And then Dink said, I'm dating myself. And me just being the joker that I am, like, I would if I could, but I think I'd wind up hating myself.
Maybe. Sometimes, you know, I think we all have those moments of self-hate, actually. You know, all kidding aside, we all have those times.
Oh, yeah. That was a big issue for me for a long time.
Well, because people, if you know, it's almost like it's sometimes people don't help you feel good either. In fact, they're helping you feel worse. Like some of the stuff I recounted, I know there's other people who've gone through. I heard a girl today, as a matter of fact. I just briefly checked in on my Facebook, and I can talk about it because I'm not going to name any names. But she simply said, I got a letter from my mom. She said telling me she doesn't love me, and that my dad's going to die before he can walk me down the aisle. No, I'm not having a bad day at all. And just left it at that. And we were just like, anybody on her friends list just like, oh my God. I said, girl, I see you. I said, if you need to talk to anybody, you know, this is what briefly what I went through, you know, just like a brief sentence. You know, I see you, I hear you if you need a friend, because that's heavy to have a parent, you know, tell you that. Or a kid tell you that too. Anybody, you know.
Yeah.
That's that important to keep the keystone people in our lives. There's people who always say, well, just get rid of them. It's like, well, it's not just any wayward person, you know. It's my son or my husband or my wife, or, you know, there's people can't always walk away, and I think we should be empathetic to that. I mean, yeah, they can, but it might not be as easy as we think it is, and maybe we just have to be there for one another.
Sometimes the resources just aren't there.
Yeah, for one reason or another, it takes a village. It really, really does. Practice what we preach, you know.
Of course, my joke with that one of the it takes a village. It takes a village to raise an idiot. Oh wait, no. It takes a
That's
village
true.
to it takes a village to avoid raising an idiot, but it takes a village of idiots to raise an idiot.
This reminds me of an old CBS radio mystery theater story. They had these dramatic stories back in the 70s and previous to that. And there's actually a story where the guy is in a village of idiots and is the prized idiot, but they think is the wise man. It just reminds me of that story.
Oh,
So
that's funny.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of that particular story, but if it comes to mind, I'll let you know. But they're actually pretty good stories to listen to.
Definitely, I'm interested in that.
Yeah, go. It's just and just YouTube, CBS Radio Mystery Theater, and there's dramatic music. You know, everybody dun dun. You know, because they've got to over dramatize a little bit because it's radio. You
Right.
can't see. You're just going by what you can, the inflection you can hear in their voice. But pretty good stories on there, all free too. And if people want to go further back, they can check out the Lux Radio Theater.
Of course, now I'm thinking of A Christmas Story with the secret message and the secret decodering. Drink more Ovaltine.
Oh,
The message was an
movie.
advertisement.
Oh my God. And you could just see, you know what? When I saw that, you know what it reminded me of?
I was thinking, welcome to advertising, kid.
Right? It immediately took me back to the moment that I got my sea monkeys. I had back then they weren't in stores. You had to mail in for them.
Oh yeah, the brine shrimp.
Yeah, my sea monkeys came in and didn't look like what was advertised. And I went back. I was very upset by this. I went back to my comic book, and I literally remember looking at the page to this day and discovering the horrors of fine print.
Yeah.
Pictures, showing me, do not depict typical sea. I was like, I felt so betrayed. It felt just like that poor kid.
So like,
if you like a Christmas Story, go check out Ollie Hot Noodles, Haven of Bliss.
all right.
It's if you haven't seen it, it's narrated by the same guy. It is awesome.
I'll have to check that out.
You'll love it. And I want to hear back after you watch it. Okay.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask you to send me the name through chat. 'Cause I'll forget it.
I will. No problem. But yeah, you got to take your joy where you can find it. Definitely makes me want to watch A Christmas Story now.
I love that. I think it was TBS every year they just marathon it.
Oh yeah, I know. It's like if it's back to back, it's all they did for the whole 24 hours, or whatever. Like, put something else on.
I was good with it. I was like, hey, this is pretty cool.
I only want to see it once in one 24-hour time frame, maybe twice.
I will say, my favorite Christmas movie is not even considered truly a Christmas movie. Die Hard. It's not Christmas until Hans Gruber's falling off of the Nakatomi Plaza building. Then it's Christmas.
Yeah. All the movies that we used to watch. Yep.
And of course, then there's Gremlins.
Oh yeah, Gremlins. I actually watched that just a few months ago. It's nowhere near Christmas at that time, but it's a feel good movie. It's kind of like macaroni and cheese,
It really
Comfort
is.
food. Yeah.
And Dink just jumped on quickly, and they had to leave. But they said if you ever watched the show Scandal, that gives you a really good idea of what life in DC is like. And she's actually from DC, so yeah.
So if I watch Scandal, it's like what life is like in DC.
Yep.
Man, I tell you, some of the series that depict some of the corruption and stuff like that in Washington, and you're just like, man, I bet you that shit's really true.
Yeah, and it may just be that kernel of truth thing too. That's all it takes is a kernel of truth.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get all like into conspiratorial and everything, but our country's done some dark shit.
No, Like the Tuskegee experiments? Operation Mockingbird? No.
Yeah, stuff that is documented and they can't get out of. And the one of the more recent whitewashing campaigns, you can't find anything on it now. We're here in the house and just watching the news, and it comes across that, and this is like, I don't know, it's probably 18 years ago now. There was a class action case against the government entities here in the state of Nevada because back in the 50s and late 50s, I think, they were actually experimenting on infants' thyroids in a class action suit.
What?
Yep. And my husband saw the news thing. I saw the news thing. We looked at each other. It was being performed at several bases in Nevada. You can't find anything on it now. It's like it never happened.
So, had one guest during season 1 come on, and I don't know if you heard about it, but it was a particular hospital. I don't remember what details he went into, so I'm not going to go into too great a detail because of the litigation and everything that went with it. But they decided to try treating brain cancer by putting in fecal matter and like bacterial colonies from the intestine into the brain cavity, and it wound up causing like 7 people to get so much pressure in their skulls that it crushed their brains to death.
Oh my God! Why would they do something like this?
It was done without permission. It was done without. I mean, even the hospital didn't. I don't know if the hospital knew or not, but I can tell you that it was all sorts of bad. The doctor did it. He just went rogue. I mean, he didn't have permission. I don't know if he ever approached the hospital with it or not, just saying, "Hey, I want to try this." My friend lost his mother because of it.
Oh my God! When you find out about stuff like that, and and like you mentioned, the ones you were referencing the instance where they Black American men had syphilis.
Yep.
Yeah, and that went on for years and years and years, and they just kept on. They didn't tell their family or anything. They let that happen. It's like, what? And how many times is stuff like that has happened in some of our lifetimes? Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, how many? It's like, no, our government won't do that. Oh, that's just a conspiracy. Well, let me tell you, there's a reason why the word conspiracy exists, because guess what? Conspiracies exist.
Yeah, I mean, a conspiracy is a crime in and of itself. Conspiring to do something.
Yeah. So they destroyed all these lives. Think of the wives and the children born to those families and stuff like that. Because, I mean, syphilis can be passed to infants. Yeah. And that they're having relations. So, I mean, this is horrific. How could our government have done that? But they did. And how many times do they have to get caught in something totally heinous like that? I mean, I love our country. I'm very patriotic. But there's some people, we got some dark people doing things they shouldn't be doing. Because how many times did things like that have to happen before, we are like, stop giving them a free pass. Oh, well, that was then, this is now. They're not doing anything like that now.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I mean, when I look at stuff like, what is the Mockingbird one? I'm not sure I've heard about that one.
Ooh, I'd have to look it up again.
Okay, it's okay. I'll look it up. Look it up.
And there's also, if you haven't heard of it, Ruby Ridge. That one's
Ruby Ridge. That is jogging. I listen to a lot of stuff like that, so it is not constantly, but I mean enough over the years. That right there is jogging my memory. Now I'm gonna have to go brush up on that too. So Mockingbird and Ruby Ridge. Okay.
Yeah, there was a joke that someone says, like, how come you don't trust your government? And he showed a file cabinet, and it had all those different names on it. It's just like one after another, after another, after another.
Yeah. If I hadn't heard that story, and the reason I had an interest in that story is because I had abnormal thyroid problems. And I lived around here. I was about that age at the time. I'm not saying I'm one of those kids, It just was something that got my attention at the time.
Right.
So, but it's like, where is the information on it? I mean, you can even find information that I think they just hadn't buried. They didn't have the means to bury things back then like they do now.
But man, have
You
we
know?
gotten on a tangent here.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I try to stay apolitical on this, but I mean, one thing I do.
I tried to warn you.
One thing I've said a lot of times about this country is like, I love my country. I don't trust my government. And I mean, that's kind of how our nation was founded, is to have a healthy distrust of government.
Hey, we are bound. Actually, as patriots, we are bound to not stand for tyrants.
Yep.
Now I don't know what that means, so, but for, I hope that, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like we're going to hell in a handbasket, honestly. But I realize that I'm looking through a jaded lens, And I run into people that say, I've never had anybody treat me badly. I'm just amazed.
Right.
They're like a unicorn. Yeah, they're like a unicorn,
I just kind of look at them like they just grew a horn out of their head, like you're saying. And I'd be like,
yeah.
And of course, my first thought is, you blocked something out. That's my first thought. You've blocked something
happy.
out.
They're so happy, and they're smiling all the time. And
that's great. If you block
and
something out, you have every reason.
Like, yeah. It's just like, I'm so glad for you. I wish I knew what that was like, but I have no clue.
Yeah.
I really don't. Not yet, anyway. Probably am going to be really depressed if it doesn't work. But
I'm really hoping that it works. Like, I mean,
I'm going to hang on to the hope that it will.
You know that you have a lot of us, backing you too.
Yeah. Part of me is like, why bother trying? It's probably not going to work, But then another part is like, no, you got to go forward with this. And if it works, you got to tell people.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Even if it doesn't work, it's the fact that it does work for so many people. I would still push it.
Definitely. I'm definitely going to come back either way and report on how I feel.
Good.
Because I want people to feel, I don't want people, it's because of this life I'm living. I mean, I have really happy days, but most of the time there's a melancholy feeling, in the background, waiting to burst forth.
Yeah, no, that's me every day. Sadly, I may sound happy and may seem happy, but it's like all of my happiness, it's tainted. There's a shadow.
Yeah, and then the days that you really have good days, though. Then those. We're like, oh my God, it feels so good, and you wish it would always be that way. But that it's probably not going to be, so you just enjoy that happy day. You might not get another one for another year or two, but hey,
Yeah, well, I mean, and for me, though, because I'm also very likely bipolar, too.
Yeah.
I have those really happy days, and I have to sit there and go, wait a minute. Am I actually happy? Or is this just another symptom of another condition? Is this a manic episode?
I could understand that. Do you have ways? I myself am not bipolar, but I've had friends that are bipolar.
Every one of my friends that's bipolar 2 has all said that I am bipolar 2. That takes one to know one. Kind of like when I know someone I meet someone with ADHD, I know they have ADHD. But my doctor is really hesitant because the meds are nasty.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to try just to see. And I get it. They aren't a cure, but they can make the ebbs and flows happen less frequently and be less dramatic.
Yeah, less extreme, more even, more even in the middle, but not flat. But not flat.
Right. It's like, you're still supposed to feel, but it's not going to be like that nothing I could do no wrong kind of a high, which gets me in a lot of trouble. Versus the soul-crushing, I'm a worthless piece of crap and I should just die.
Yeah, I hate that.
With very little in between when I start to swing.
Yeah. I hate that. A lot of times for me, that's the middle of the night. I'll wake up and I'll sit on the edge of the bed and just, think about stuff and try not to think about it. Try to redirect my thoughts. A lot of tools in my tool chest. I learned a lot when I got trained to be a counselor, but it's easier said than done. The feelings are still
Yeah.
there. You're still only human,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
and they're going to sometimes they just tear you apart.
And it was actually, I could say that a big thank you to my mom. She was one of the ones that fought really hard to make sure I didn't bottle things up and hold it in. She
So
was
glad.
a huge influence in that. And it's like, even though both of my parents, they're technically, they're boomers. My dad was even though he didn't serve in Vietnam, he did enlist when the draft was still going. So he's still technically a Vietnam War, veteran. He just got lucky and got to stay stateside. And the draft ended right after he enlisted too. So I mean, he got lucky.
Yeah, my dad, John. Well, the only dad I knew was my stepdad, but he was already in the military. So I hear you.
Yeah, but he was. They're both. I was just gonna say, because like that generation, as you know, was very much the you keep it to yourself. You don't talk about it. It's taboo.
Oh, definitely.
It's a shame of the family. If
Oh my God, yes.
Then I had my mom telling me, don't bottle it up. Deal with it. Feel. Be, human about it.
My mom was like, don't tell anybody that our family comes, that part of our family hails from Austria, which really Yugoslavia, but at the time. But, and I said, why? Because Hitler came from there. I'm like, oh my God,
So?
why are you burdening? This is way past then. Why are you burdening me with this?
Hey, you know what?
That's the kind of shit I had to deal with, Eric.
You know what? Don't tell anybody that you drink water because Hitler drank water. I mean, come on.
She was sick in her own way, though. That was obvious. And
Right.
It was really weird, too. When she passed away, she died intestate because we hadn't spoken in several years. I had to go take care of all her stuff in California. Thank God for my husband helping me because it turned out that she had hoarded like 3 rooms, and I think and not in a nasty, gross way.
No.
Just I don't feel like putting my clothes away kind of thing. So there was piles of, and she was a real clothes horse. So I mean, we had yard sales, and it was like endless closets, and it was all really good. We're talking like, oh God, what's a fancy name? The stuff you get at places like Nordstrom's or, the really.
You're talking about good stuff.
Yeah, the really high-end stores. Yeah. This woman had like 15 or 20 furs. Okay. It was so weird having to go clean up after all her stuff after 5 or 6 years of her acting like, I didn't exist.
My ex-wife pointed out one time that my mom had a lot of pot holders.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad decided to pull them out. Yeah, my mom, I wouldn't call her a hoarder because it's not really like, I might need this someday, I might need that someday. It's like very specific items that she does accumulate a lot of. She has something like, I want to say 60 plus pot holders.
Uh-huh.
Like, who in the right, you don't need that many pot holders.
That's exactly like my mom, though. I went there to the house and I could barely open some of the kitchen drawers because they were stuffed with pot holders and another one was stuffed with aprons. I mean, you only need 1 or 2 aprons. You don't need 60.
Yeah. It's like, you only need as many pot holders as you're going to serve, and plus 1 or 2 for holding.
Yeah, she liked to go to Goodwill and stuff like that and estate sales. And I understand that. I do it too. But I mean, she just didn't stop. And then when, as she got older, apparently she needed, I told her friends who were also my friends, I remember some of them who were good from when I was a kid. I said if she would have just let me in her life, I would have made sure, even in spite of everything, that she had everything she needed. I wouldn't have let him take her and put her away, in a home or anything. I'd get a caregiver in if I couldn't be there to help her and stuff like that. That's what we did for Chuck's, my husband's parents, who both got cancer back to back. and we had to help with that situation. I mean, we were well, but I think that it just toward the later years, she got even more verbally abusive, and I'm not even
Yeah.
going to get into that, but it was really weird to go handle all these women's things, after being cut out of her life.
Right. Yeah, my mom. As a joke one time, I went. I wonder how many towels my mom has. Because I remember we never wanted for towels. There were always towels ready to go. So I'm in the bathroom and I open up the bottom cabinet, stuffed from floor to the top of the cabinet with towels, as deep as they come. It was like 2 or 3 deep. I'm like, okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's open up the cabinet above that, stuffed with towels.
Oh my God, I feel the pain.
Cabinet next to it, stuffed with towels. And I was like, a joke I made though, but it's there's a lot of truth to it. During the when the toilet paper crisis happened, I told my dad, I was like, yeah, you don't have to worry about it. You guys probably have like 200 rolls of toilet paper. Yeah, they had something close to that. Just because my mom had just slowly gathered that much.
That's what she had done too. I got there, and we're still using the toilet paper that we brought back from California. There's still 30 rolls left, and it's been months. And the same with paper towels and all kinds of other products. It was good to see some of the things that I never thought I'd see again, because honestly, I never thought that anything would come back to me, because she had taken, because she was my grandmother's daughter. So when grandma passed away, and mom had been taking some antiques to her house with grandma's permission and stuff. There were things that I wanted to have that I never thought I'd see again. So that was good, but it was very bittersweet, because I would have given so much to just forgive and forget with my mom.
I'm sorry you didn't get that.
Yeah, I cried, and but I realized if she was still alive, she still wouldn't be speaking to me. So, and I never knew why either. So,
and that's got to be the worst part.
Oh, it's one of those. It's like, give people closure, give them the dignity of some closure. When I finally, she'd listened to my messages, and I finally, one time a few years back, I called up, and I talked to the machine again, and I said, I need to hear from my mother to make sure she's okay. This is her daughter. Okay. So whoever hears this message, please contact me. Here's my phone number, or I'm going to have to send Adult Protective Services over to do a welfare check. Not to be nosy or be rude or anything, but I knew that my mom is getting up there in years.
Right. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, I'm her only child, and I was raised to be responsible that way. Even if, you might not love them or even like them. I mean, and that's a terrible thing to say, but I just still loved my mom in spite of the past. I don't know why, because a lot of people say that I probably shouldn't because of everything, but I do. But anyway, but I understand everything she did that was wrong too. And it wasn't I don't blame all my issues on her either. It was just the beginning.
Right. And I think that you still love her because, you're a good person. It doesn't take, like a detective to, like Sherlock Holmes, to figure out that you're a good person. You're a good person. I've known this for years.
I haven't always heard that though, And
I wish I would have talked to you more.
I tend to get intense and passionate about certain things, I realize that I'm too defensive, and it's one of the reasons that I'm in therapy so often, and it's good for me to talk to folks like you too, because I really don't have other people. I'm pretty isolated actually, because even though I've been vaccinated, there's still no guarantee that I might not get the Delta variant. Not that I just don't go out.
Right. Yeah, my wife, asthma. She is fully vaccinated, and she got COVID, so.
See? Oh my God. See, how is she okay?
Yeah, she's fine. Her sense of smell's coming back. It wrecked her for a little while, but it wasn't like the end of the world, fortunately.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Me too. And the amazing thing was that I didn't get it, even though she was contagious with it, and I was in bed next to her the first night.
Isn't that amazing? You know,
well,
they're
I'm
doing
also
studies on...
I'm also fully vaccinated, and neither of my kids got it either. So I mean, it was just, and we all got tested.
Mm-hmm. So it worked for you, but then the vaccine worked for you that time, but it didn't work for her for whatever reason. See, it happens.
Yeah, and at the same time, I mean, we don't know how much worse it could have been if she wasn't vaccinated.
Yeah, maybe she might not have survived because that would be horrific, just horrific.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to know which way it would have gone without it.
That's so true.
And I'm not trying to tell everyone, you know, like, go out there, rush out, and, you know, get vaccinated. It's your choice. I believe in it. I'm vaccinated.
I believe in it too.
But I believe it's also your choice.
Yeah, Grandma, my mom's mom, Grandma Angel, who was nothing like her mom. Thank God I had her for the short periods of time I was able to be around her, because I, only had summers usually with her. But she would tell me stories from the old country, and also when she was a very young woman, she was got married and 20, 21 years old, that sort of thing. And that's when the Spanish flu. No, wait a minute. Yeah, she was very young, maybe only 19.
Ooh.
The Spanish flu pandemic happened. Her first husband.
That was a nasty one.
Yeah. Do you know that they did the same thing? People mocked it back then too. They still had parades, which became a super spreader event, just like we've seen here in this pandemic. But Grandma would tell me about how whole families were dying. She said she was, and she'd just be at the stove cooking these gigantic pots of soup, and that whole families were dying, and that rather than carry the bodies of the dead through the house, that they were lifting them through windows and stuff. And I've always had a really good imagination. I think PTSD helps paint those things too. So I really could, we didn't know. I mean, but I could just see this unfolding in my mind's eye.
Right.
And her husband actually got the flu and Spanish flu, developed pneumonia from the complications, and passed away as a consequence. So I'm like, I knew that it's only a matter of time, and here we are. I remembered those stories from Grandma.
And one that a lot of people don't realize is that, even 1969, there was a global pandemic, yet people still went to, 69 was Woodstock. In the middle of a pandemic.
Was that the Hong Kong flu?
I think so, yeah.
I got that. We were living in that house in Topeka. I was 8. Yep, it would have been 8 or 9. Yeah, that's exactly. Oh my God, man, dude. I remember that 2-story house. That's one of the times I had one of the most strange experiences of my life. Now we're going to get into some spooky stuff.
Yeah, we stopped with the mental health part of this a while ago. So if you're still listening, it's probably because you're just interested in the stories at this point.
If you want me to stop, I'll stop. We'll go right back to PTSD. I got loads to share about that. But I mean, this kind of thing kind of actually helped me hang on, to let me know that somebody's watching over me, something or someone. So the Hong Kong flu made me I remember my head was simply spinning. The only thing I could equate it to, because I didn't know then, but later on, when we all experiment with alcohol and you get the spins.
Oh, yeah.
It was like that. Okay?
Oh, wait, no, I'm a good guy. I've never done alcohol. I leave those things alone.
Yeah, vertigo was the vertigo was awful. I'm only 8 or 9. I've got my woolly socks on, and I'm getting ready to go down the stairs. So if you picture an L in front of you, only with the leg. So you're going down the staircase. The long leg is the staircase, and it's in front of you, but the long leg goes to the right, and that would be where our front door was.
Okay.
So at the top of the stairs, my socks catch on a nail, and I'm a scrawny kid at that, so I'm very small for 8, and I instead of tumbling down the stairs, I went sideways somehow and landed on my bottom in the front at the very end of the short leg of the L, next to the front door. I still don't know how it happened.
Oh, that's wild.
Because it was almost like I was lifted up and placed there. I'm not saying I was. I just don't even remember I remember starting to fall and then sitting just on my bottom in front of the door. So how did I go sideways? And I had no bruises. None.
Okay, that's wild.
Yeah. That made me wonder if maybe I better just not, because I mean, life was miserable even at that tender age. And I mean, I played and took my fun where I could, but I don't have good memories throughout most of my childhood. There's some crazy stuff. I mean, it just kept me in a constant state of trauma. Because by the time you know how trauma is, you have it, and then you start to calm down, and then everything's okay again, or as close to normal as it's ever going to be after that.
Right.
The peak is over with. Okay. I just kept rolling from thing to thing, for whatever reason. And there were times in my younger adult life that I would just literally just, please God, let me just not wake up. I didn't want to try to kill myself because I was taught that it was wrong. That doesn't mean I didn't try. I did try a couple of times, but I wasn't successful.
I tried once and I wasn't successful. Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness. But yeah. PTSD can take you down to any kind of depression, though. And I can imagine, like my darkest depths, I would imagine, I don't know what bipolar is like, but I would imagine that some of my darkest depths, which are pretty dang dark, might be how you're feeling when you're having some really hard times. Plunging down.
When I'm at my worst, I'm thankful that I can't get out of bed, because if I got out of bed, I probably would try to kill myself. Fortunately, I don't go that dark anymore.
Yeah.
Since my literal actual attempt at suicide and then seeing life on the other side got better.
Yeah.
So that helped me a lot. But yeah, no, it's when it gets dark, it gets dark.
Yeah, you just don't see any way out.
No.
And people say they get angry at people who have tried to kill themselves or have killed themselves. I understand it's part of the grieving process, but what I want to share with people is that we're not in our right minds at those moments in time.
No.
Okay? If somebody if somebody was just to talk to us, yes, that might make the difference and buy us another day or two until the next bout, right?
Yep.
Sometimes you only take it. Sometimes you got to take your goals are an hour at a time. Sometimes you're just trying to get through the next hour. Maybe tomorrow it'll be a full day.
And there's actually been a few people that I've been able to talk down. And one thing that I was asked to do, and it got me through for a day, and it surprised me, is that I make people promise me that they'll not kill themselves, today or tonight.
Yeah.
Let me, please answer the phone. Promise me that you'll let me know that you're alive in the morning when you finally wake up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And every one of them has done so. And I'm like, okay, great. Do you think you could do that one more day?
Yeah. It's true.
And just keep stringing them on until next thing you know, they're like, you know what? I don't need to keep checking in anymore. Thank you. I'm good. I'm like, I'm glad you're good. I still like the check-ins because, it's nice talking to you. But yeah.
You're saving lives. Another couple of people that inspire me to, like sometimes, you hang on because it's going to hurt other people and you don't want to hurt them, so you stay, right?
Well, I mean,
there's a couple.
No one. I have never heard of someone say, "I wanted to kill myself just to cause everybody else pain." It's usually, "I want to kill myself to stop causing everyone else pain."
Or themselves pain.
Right.
Mostly, I've heard of themselves pain.
Right.
And maybe they feel that they're a burden to others sometimes too.
I mean, I've never heard of anyone's, I've never heard of it as everyone was like, oh, it's so selfish. I'm like, yeah, but when people do it, they usually have selfless reasons to do it. They're usually rationalizing, I'm not going to hurt anybody else anymore.
Yeah, that life is so unfair. I try to explain to people that moment in time is a moment in time. That's it. Okay? I mean, the person may suffer from suicidal ideation quite often. However, maybe, they can always hopefully be brought out of it by a willing friend or even a willing stranger sometimes. It makes a difference. And maybe I can't count the stories that I've read or heard from other counselors or professionals. Help is needed. There isn't enough. Okay. Mental health crises. We have a mental health crisis pretty much just due to I still pay attention to what's going on. Just like we created most of our heroin addicts. We didn't help them get off pain pills properly, if they could be.
Right, and we just kind of went, okay, well, you're done. I have a problem.
Don't have enough support. You can't just do that stuff cold turkey. So then they find their way to the heroin dealer, or other illicit drugs or whatever. But yeah, we've got to be there for one another and support. I'm digressing too much again. Sorry.
No, don't worry about it. That's actually why this podcast exists. Well, a part of it.
Yeah.
And as I've said multiple times, and I don't know if I told you that the whole purpose of this podcast is twofold. One, to help remove the stigma, and two, to let others know that they're not alone.
I want people to know who would want this. I mean, my God. I can just, if people say, just stop. Just don't worry about it anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Just let it go. My God, and it got to the point, it's like I didn't even want to hear the Frozen "Let It Go" song. I was so sick of people saying "Let it go." I was like, sometimes you can't let it go. Okay, sometimes something is so big you can't just let it go.
Oh, gee, why didn't I think of that? Oh, I did. It didn't work.
Yeah, you don't think we would? Why would we be not sleeping at night, not taking care of ourselves? Just struggling with every moment just to be here sometimes.
Yeah.
And we don't want to get rid of that. Of course we do. We'd all turn it off if we could. I can't think of one person who would endure this monstrosity. And I knew how bad it was too. I haven't even reached the bottom understanding of this thing that I have.
The thing that I can say though is at least you're trying. There's a lot of people out there who are suffering and they don't even know where to begin to even try to understand it, so they just don't. And I mean, I really want to try to reach out to those people. That's what I'm hoping this podcast does, is it gets to those kinds of people and be like, look, listen to these. That's why I tell people, share episodes that you think will resonate with others or ones that resonated with you. Because you never know. That might be the one where it gets someone to go, you know what? I do have an issue. I do need help. And it's okay to look for help. This person was in the same situation I was in, and they got help. If they could do it, maybe I can.
It's not weak to say. It's not weak to admit you. We can't. Most people can't even admit they're having therapy. That's a sign of weakness. That's so sad.
Yeah, it's not sad to admit the fact that you need help.
Go get it. And, I can happily say there's medication for that. I got some. You get some, too.
Yeah. And actually...
I'm not saying everybody should be medicated, but, sometimes you need it,
Yeah, don't... I fought so hard to not get on medication. I really did. I did not want to be medicated.
Me neither, but I did it. And
I did it.
I'm glad I did.
I did it. I said I didn't like it. I didn't want it anymore. I weaned myself, and I found myself in the same place I was before. So I got medicated again, and things were good again. And then I was like, I don't like being on medications because this is, I always felt I'm living a lie. This is the pill talking, not me. Well,
that's how I felt. That's what kept me from it too.
Well, here I am on my third go around. And this time I'm like, you know what? This is it. This is my life. It's still me, but this is the me that's a little more balanced where I should have been. Where other people say, hey, that's what's normal is. I'm like, really? This is closer to normal? I could live with this.
Yeah.
It's just I had to learn to get comfortable with myself being a little bit different than what I was used to. Because what I was used to is broken. Let's just throw that out there right now. What I was used to was bad. So, of course...
I hear you.
Of course, what's good's going to be weird and unfamiliar.
Yeah. I don't even know what to expect that's when I make that. I know it's a bad analogy, but I said, if I wake up a Stepford wife, I'm just saying, you know.
And, yeah, and actually we have an episode coming up in the next season where we actually are going to talk about the importance of proper medication, not weaning yourself, doing the right things.
Right, and if you can be weaned off, the doctor's going to do that.
Exactly.
They're going to help you. A good doctor wants to wean you off if you can be. If it's a chemical imbalance, it might be a lifelong thing. But that's nothing to be ashamed of, any more than if I have if God forbid I don't have any teeth. Oh well, that's okay, right?
Yeah.
I'm a paraplegic, and it sucks, but we don't make it okay to be handicapped. We say that it is, but we always I just still see too much of a tendency for people to treat others like they're somehow less than they are.
Yeah, and I've had some people try to make fun of me, about me being on medication. It's like, what's that say about you that you're medicated? I'm like, what's it say about you that you're not?
Yeah, that's perfect. I love it. I'm going to use it. That's fantastic.
And that's just me being, snarky and just, retorting.
It's okay, though. That's a very healthy snarky way. That's a very healthy type of snarky. I love that. That's awesome.
Wait a minute, you're unmedicated? Well, that explains a lot. Of course, I don't mean those things when I say it, but it's like, if you're going to be nasty to me, I know how to fight back.
I always was worried, and, I was about 45, I think. I just got tired of fighting the depression on the level that I was fighting it, with the kids of PTSD just feeds right into that. It might have been created. I don't know. It's so intertwined now. Who knows? But I needed help, and I finally just gave in. But I was worried that I was going to, that I would just be zonked out all the time, or that I'm very creative. I worried that I would lose my creativity. I would be so numb that I would, it would take it.
That did happen to me, but that's because I was on the wrong medication.
Yeah, that's what I was told, that it would be the wrong medication, that I shouldn't be having now.
Once I was on the right medication, guess what? My creativity came right back.
Oh, it probably even improved.
I don't know necessarily that it improved, but it's definitely didn't get any worse.
Thank God. Yeah, because you don't want to kill that off, because that's an important... if that's a part of who a person is, that's them expressing deep, deep things in their soul that maybe they might not even understand. That art has to come out.
Yeah, my music is part of my identity.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's not like, I'm a musician, that's part of my identity. No, the songs themselves, my ability to make them. I've been making music and creating music for as long as I can remember. If that was suddenly cut out of my life, oh God.
It would be like going from color TV to black and white, or no TV at all.
It'd be going from for me, going from the Ultra HD that we have today to doing hand puppets on the wall using shadows.
Oh yeah, shadow puppets. I remember those.
Those are creative, but it sure isn't ultra high def. Oh,
I actually was playing around with that not that long ago. A couple of weeks ago, I thought, oh yeah, I can still make a wolf. That's all I can do is like a wolf or a duck. I couldn't do, or maybe a very basic butterfly.
Yeah, I could do an eagle too. Just two hands,
wrap
your
cool.
thumbs. Yeah.
That's cool. Stuff like that is still fun.
Yeah, one of my favorites that I do, and it makes my kids laugh. It's the shapeless blob. They're like, you can't do that, Dad. Oh yeah? I'm doing it. Here's my shapeless blob.
So fun.
They're like, Dad, you're not supposed to do it that way. So? How am I supposed to do it? It's my shadow, my imagination.
It's true.
Of course, like my 6-year-old's like, you really can't do that, Dad. I'm like, no, I can. See, I'm doing it just fine. You're just mad that you can't. And of course, she's like, I can too. And then she goes and does it. I'm like, oh, see? So if you can do it, how come I can't?
That's so fun.
I love challenging the way that they think. I like helping to get them to be more fluid and think outside the norms when they think.
It's amazing to me.
It's something I've always pushed my kids to do.
Yeah, and I think that's wonderful too, because see, I'm like I don't know how old you are, but
I'm 44.
Yeah, I'm 61. My kids are grown and gone. I mean, I see all the differences now and how things have changed. I like the way that kids are being taught for the most part, except for that dang alternative math. For I was never, the whole time my kids were growing up, I was not able to help my kids with math because A, I was never great at math to begin with, and B, I don't know, they called it regrouping or something like that, and I'm like, I try to tell the kids how to do basic subtraction. It's like, no, they said to regroup it over here. I said, what is it? Regrouping. We do this.
I get the Common Core approach, what they're working for. Like
that's it, Common Core.
Yeah, the goal is for it to be so you can start dealing with larger numbers more easily. Especially if you convert everything to factors of 10, it's easier.
It never worked for me, but I probably would now. But back then, I was like, I could not help those kids with the math. I felt so bad.
I still kind of struggle a little bit with it, but at least I understand what the aim is. And I'm like, at the same time, there is something to be said about at least learning the old style too. Because there's times that you don't need to make your quadrants and do all the, sometimes it's just two numbers you just throw together. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, don't complicate it. In fact, I can't remember what it was. Some kind of little video I saw something where they showed somebody doing the math, and then they did it with the core version, and it took like 2 or 3 times as long, like you say, as it did for just the old way. It's like, so how are we saving time? Because that was one of the things. You're saving time. It's like, how exactly are we saving time? The
problem is that they're using small numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Move into really large numbers, and it becomes,
when it gets good?
Yeah, that's when it gets good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they're preparing the kids for, is to be able to juggle around larger numbers. Like around the world, something very similar to Common Core is already taught, especially like Japan.
Oh man, I know.
And
Grandma said when she came over back from Europe to America, we were so far behind. It's not even funny. And
exactly.
Still are, yes.
Yeah, and this is a big leap forward, but I mean, I get the resistance. Change is scary.
It is.
And if you can't see the immediate benefits because your elementary school kid is learning it, and it's not being you're not talking to someone who's in college applying it at a high level, yeah, you're going to be like, this is BS, this is garbage, we shouldn't be teaching this. But then if they're completely fluent with it, and then they get into college, and then they're starting to crunch the really big numbers where it really kicks in.
Then, yeah, I can see it then, absolutely. Yeah. But it for those of us that had gone, the old way, it was complete, like, got tossed in the water and swim, situations. Like, I don't know what you mean,
Yeah.
I'm going to the teacher, I'm like, what does this definition mean in this circumstance when it came to this math? And it was just like, okay. I mean, I know I'm not the only one, though, who was confused by it, though.
No, and again, I was a little confused too, but it really took someone to sit me down, because I was, I tend to knee jerk at times, and I knee jerked hard on Common Core. I was like, this is absolute garbage, and it took someone that was it was a teacher, a friend of mine, who was able to pull me aside one on one and be like, look, here's what you do, right? Yeah, and I was like, I know that you play games that use a lot of dice. Do you group them into pairings of, say, 10s before you start counting out all your sets of 10s? I'm like, well, yeah, naturally. Like, hey, well, that's what they're doing. Oh, okay.
That's how I feel right now, actually, to be honest.
Like if you roll, say, 36-sided dice, it's a lot easier to group them all into groups of 10 and then count how many 10s you have. And then count your individual pips that are left over after. So much easier, as opposed to trying to count, okay, here, there's 5, and 4 is 9, and then there's a 6, so that's 15, and then there's a 4 there, so that's 19. That takes a little more time, as opposed to, well, let's just group this all together.
Yeah, I got it. Makes more sense now than it did then.
Yeah, and that's all it really took, was someone just go, okay, so when you have 30 dice, do you count them all at once? No. Yeah, it was very helpful to get that, and I hope that helped you too.
Yes, it does. I'm going to go experiment with it later.
Nice.
Yep. See if I traditionally, me and math suck. We don't get along. I want to be better at it because I like to, I know some math, obviously. I mean, I like to cook, so fractions, I mean, I know what half a cup is, and that 2/4 makes a half a cup, and that kind of thing. The basics.
Right, but we don't even need that so much anymore. I mean, and that's where like the metric system comes in, and I like the metric system, but I'm so familiar with the current system that we have, the Imperial system, that I still struggle with that system. I really struggle with it.
I still struggle with the I'm constantly using the millimeters to inches and centimeters to inches.
2.5 centimeters to an inch.
Calculators, yeah, because I like to go to like Poshmark and get my clothes there and stuff like that, so I can find some good things at a great price. And they'll always have like millimeters or something like that. I'm like, okay, let me go see if it converts. Will this fit me? Pull up the good old online calculator.
Yep. Or just go to Google and just put in, like 37 millimeters to inches.
And they say that it's more accurate too. So I mean, but they've been trying to switch us over from the imperial system for many, many, many years. It just never has taken a hold here.
No, it hasn't. And then people are like, well, we used the imperial system to get people on the moon. I was like, no, we really didn't.
They don't even know how they got there anymore. If they had to do it again, they said they lost the technology. And I'm like, how? Right? How? Exactly.
Even if that's the case, I mean, they use the metric system to get there because base 10 is so much easier to deal with.
Yeah. And we have some things too that are like, there are like, I can say that I deal with machine embroidery, okay, and the designs are always with the embroidery hoops, the machine embroidery hoops are always referred to as millimeters, like 110 by 110 millimeters, a 4x4 hoop kind of thing,
Oh,
but
nice.
They're all in millimeters. Hardly ever inches are referred to.
Got it.
But that's just an example of where it has taken, it's taken hold in some industries maybe, but there may be other industries that I'm unaware of, that have that follow the same kind of system. Maybe they follow millimeters and centimeters and all that too, the metric system.
I know that mechanics are getting there.
Yep.
Engineering for sure.
Definitely. But I mean, for the common average person, I think it's pretty much still imperial for the vast, everyday, unless they have some specialized hobby or job.
Right. Oh, and just so for everybody listening, since we're going to be off for the next 2 weeks after this for Thanksgiving, if you decide to go ahead and watch Gordon Ramsay's way of cooking a turkey, and you're here in the United States, make sure you convert his temperatures to Fahrenheit. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting for sunrise till sunset to get a lukewarm turkey that's not cooked all the way through. Just so you know.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I know this firsthand or anything.
He scares me, honestly.
Ramsay?
Yeah, he scares me. When he starts screaming at people, I'm just like, no.
Oh, then you want to watch like MasterChef and like MasterChef Junior. He's actually a really cool guy.
I heard that he is, and then all the other thing is just bluster, which makes me feel better. And I
Right.
guess, call me a snowflake. I just don't like screaming and fighting, probably because I just had too much of it. My cup overfloweth.
Yeah,
With
no,
bullshit.
I
You know?
get that. And it's like PTSD. Some people just screaming in general
Yeah,
is
and
enough.
I mean, I have gotten pissed at plenty of times in my life and yelled plenty damn loud too. But as a general rule, I like peace and quiet.
I was gonna
And
say, haven't we all been pissed at one point or another?
yeah, we should be sometimes. Was it Franklin too? Who said, all it takes is for evil to succeed is for good men to remain silent or something like that?
Yeah, I think that might have been. I think Franklin may have. I have a feeling that he may have quoted that from somebody else.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
yeah, it's very true though. In order for
is
evil
very
to
true.
succeed, all it takes is for good people to remain silent.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like if you're silent about something, that's not good. I mean, sometimes I guess people have to be. I mean, like for instance, there are security matters sometimes with businesses or military or something. I mean, people
Right.
have to be silent about stuff. But as a general rule, even then, if there's corruption, people should try to find a way to speak up and do the right thing.
Right, and
You know?
one of my pet
part.
peeves, is when people say silence is consent. It's not.
It really isn't, but at the same time, we do suffer from bystander apathy. There's a
Exactly.
reason there's memes where it shows a hand coming out of the water and a whole bunch of people on the beach. Nobody's helping the person with the hand.
They're all sitting there with their camcorder or their phones
Their
recording
phone.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like I sometimes I fully believe in documentation. However, get in there. You know.
The surefire way to fix that, as far as like if you're in that situation and you see it happening, give orders.
You
Like,
think that would really work?
oh,
I
it
just feel
absolutely
like
works. Because people, is when people are standing around like that, a lot of times they're just waiting for someone to take action. And if you just take action,
Yeah,
like, hey, you know what? I'm going to start CPR. You call 911. You see if you can flag someone down. Like if you start doing that, people will just stop and start helping because, like, oh, someone's taking charge.
For a while there, I would hear people say, "I'm not helping. They might sue me later because they heard of bad situations."
Hey,
That happened. I'm like, but how could you stand by?
with
I mean,
basic life support. Hey, you know
yeah,
what? Make sure you have your Good Samaritan card.
yeah, jeez. I just really think that I hate bystander apathy. I understand deer in the headlights. I get it, but to a point, we've got to take action too. I think.
And there was a study actually not too long ago that shows that our perceptions of the bystander apathy are a little bit overinflated. People are more willing, like thanks to social media, they're starting to, people that aren't bystanders, people that take action, are starting to be the ones that are going viral. So more and more people are like, oh, someone else took action. I could do that.
Yeah, it's like we learn. We're learning from example. Exactly.
Yeah.
Watching somebody else do something. I love those commercials too that show something like that. Where it's like somebody falls and somebody helps them pick up, and then it shows somebody observing the other person, helping the other person get up off the ground, and then they go on, and then in their day they see that they need to help somebody, and the kindness just keeps getting paid forward. Really neat.
I love paying it forward. It's one of the things I love to do. And it's not even just even little things like, hey, how much is that person's order, at like the drive-thru behind me?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, it's like $7. I'll pay for theirs too.
Cool.
Not that I have to, just, I want to do something nice. And a lot of times that winds up becoming a chain reaction event where that person pays for the person behind them. And that person pays for the person behind them. And it just keeps going.
I've heard of that. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
All it takes is one pebble to cause ripples.
absolutely. I believe in that totally.
I think I've heard that somewhere too. Well, just kind of
Yep.
like, every storm starts with a light breeze.
Yep, true.
Speaking of which, it's raining here. My dogs came in and they're wet.
Oh,
Yeah, it's really
another
great.
good thing all over you.
Oh, yeah, they got the good shake on me. Yeah, thanks, dogs. But I'd rather have that happen than not have dogs.
Yep, absolutely. Dogs are awesome.
We don't deserve
So
them.
much love to give. No, we don't, but they're just, I mean, it doesn't, it's like they're always happy to see you. Always.
Yeah. And like,
Always.
you're gone. You
Yeah.
go to the bathroom. Come out like 3 minutes later. They're like, "I thought you left me forever. I love you."
You ever see those YouTube videos where the dog's sitting on the bed and maybe the
Oh yeah, the blanket thing.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. There was one that I saw. It was two little like Yorkshire Terriers, or maybe, yeah, it was two little types of terriers, and they're all like kind of wrestling and fighting and everything. And all of a sudden, their mom drops the blanket, and then they look at each other like, "You did that. Where is she?" And then they got to fight. You just look like that, So funny. Or like when they run down, like, and they look in both ways. It's so hilarious.
Have you ever seen when you take a stuffed animal, and like if they are eating a treat, and you have the stuffed animal go up and pretend eat the treat, and then drop over like they did, like they passed out or died? A lot of times the dogs will spit out what's in their mouth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna go look now.
It is. It really shows just how much they can really comprehend things. It's like,
Oh,
they
yeah.
may not understand mortality per se, but they understand, ooh, that was bad. Maybe I shouldn't have this. They connect the dots.
There's a couple that I've seen where, like, for instance, the guy had a printout of what looked like, fried chicken and all kinds of yummy meats the dog would like and everything. And he puts it down on top of this bowl, so it looks like that's what's in the bowl. The dog's all happy because he's going to get it. And he's like, his eyes are all bright and shiny, and he's all happy and everything. Then the guy pulls the picture away, and then the dog lifts his head and looks at the guy really serious, like, WTF.
Yeah, are you
Okay.
kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, really, guy?
Yep. Oh, there's just another one where there was two of them. I think it was the same guy and his dogs, and there's two of them, and they take a treat. He's handing them a treat, and the one dog won't take the treat, but the other guy goes. He's like, they're voicing over it. He's saying like, "Hey," he goes, "Oh, you got to take your treats when you can get them. I'll see you later. I'm gonna go off with my treat." And then after he walks around the corner, they pull a duck leg out. And gives it to
Yeah.
the other dog, and this other dog comes back and has that WTF angry look. They're smart. They know.
Yeah, they're smarter than some people give them credit. The 3-card Monty, but you use like the cups and you have like the follow the ball.
Yeah.
I saw one where they did that with a treat under a cup, and they moved it, like 3 cups around, and the dog pawed at the one that had the treat. So they lift up the one with the treat, the dog's all happy to get it, then they flip over another one, and it's just filled with treats. And the dog just looks like heartbroken, like, seriously?
I could have gotten that. Like you lost a prize. That is so funny. Oh. There's two corgis. Have you seen the two corgis that argue with each other?
No.
There's these two. That's so funny because corgis are kind of a funny looking dog anyway. They're adorable, but they're long, short bodies, right?
Right.
They and then they walk away, and then their backs are toward each other, and suddenly, for whatever reason, I don't know if somebody breathes hard or what, but you see they give the crazy side eye that dogs sometimes get.
Yeah.
The lip, and then they're back at each other. They never really bite each other, though. They could, but they never really bite each other. And then they go back to their corners again, and it just goes on like this. And you'd think these two dogs never got along, but occasionally their human will post them just laying there looking outside the bay window, like,
Everything's
chill,
cool.
Yeah.
That has always cracked me up.
I love stuff like that. You just binge watch stuff like that sometimes.
Animals are amazing. It's so a great documentary film. It's the lighter side of animals. It's called Animals Are People Too.
Yeah.
I highly recommend that.
I'm gonna go. I haven't seen it, but I agree with the title. Animals Are People Too.
Yeah, it's a really old, this is an 80s quality, like late 70s, early 80s quality filming. But man, is it amazing.
Sounds good. Now I'm forgetting. Seems like, what were we talking about earlier that I'm going to go look at? Was it a movie? Damn it.
I might have to go back and listen to the podcast again.
It's going to come to me in the middle of the night. I'll look it up.
That happens to you too, huh?
Yeah. Quite a bit.
Yeah. I don't want to admit how often that happens to me, but ADHD, it's basically a way of life.
The attention deficit disorder?
Yeah, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. They've changed it. There's no longer just ADD and ADHD. It's all ADHD. Just because you're not physically hyperactive doesn't mean that your mind's not hyperactive.
Uh-huh.
I was like, you know what? That's a fair point, because my mind is definitely hyper. I'm still hyperactive. Like, I'm the chubbiest hyperactive guy you'll probably ever meet.
I have no thyroid. Ever since I got thyroid disease, I understand. I wasn't always chubby, but I definitely fat now, for sure.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of weight to lose, but it's hard when you have thyroid problems. But
I wish Bexy was on right now, because she has Hashimoto's. That is a autoimmune that attacks the thyroid.
Yep. I found I had to have mine removed. And the nodule, one of the nodules was as big as a pomegranate.
That's big.
And it was all in my neck. And I mean, you couldn't see it. I mean, there was a little bit of a bulge, but I wonder, I probably have a little bit of ADHD myself, actually. I don't know.
I think you do.
I know.
As someone that has it, I think you do.
I mean, I know what I'm thinking about, okay? I can keep track of it, you know.
Yeah, no, it's not that you can't keep track of it, but you're easily distracted.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Hopefully I'll be. Hopefully, maybe the stellate ganglion block might help with that if it's related to the PTSD, you know, because it could be related to the hypervigilance, because I'm always paying attention to what's. You know, if my brain was on a swivel, it would just be spinning and slowly beep with a little telescope, like a periscope, looking for trouble. Beep.
Yeah, no, I can believe that. And I do have a question.
What is it?
Would you be okay if I were to get you and Bexy in a chat on Facebook, you know, through the messenger? Would you be willing to talk to her about life post-thyroid, because her doctors have considered removing her thyroid, and she's a little bit scared about it?
Sure, that'd be fine. I'm happy to talk to her about it.
Fantastic.
You know where to find me on there. Point her in my direction.
Will do. Thank you very much.
You betcha. Happy to do it. I was nervous about it too. You know, because I was like,
the thyroid's a big deal.
I'm like, am I going to gain even more weight? Because I used to be like a size 1, okay? You know, I'm not a tall person, so that was right for me, okay? You know, and like now I'm like a size 22.
Yeah, I get that. Like, I graduated high school at 155 pounds. I now weigh 250, and I'm 6'1".
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. And I mean, I know that's part of my mobility issues, but it's hard to lose weight when, you know, that gland really does regulate a lot of stuff.
It does.
You know, it really does.
The only thing that regulates more, the only two that regulate more are the pituitary and the hypothalamus.
Yeah. It was. I would be happy to talk to her, because I realize how scary it is, and it's going to be different for everyone too. One thing that happened to me is my hair didn't fall out in chunks after it was removed. But when I would brush my hair, I would see that there was more hairs in the brush than normal. And that made me really nervous, because thyroid patients can lose almost all their hair. It has been known to happen. And I
Yeah,
mean, guys look, but women, okay, we just aren't. Our society is not ready for bald women yet. We're not comfortable. We're not ready for it yet.
I don't know. I kind of like Sinead O'Connor.
I know. I see that. Like, remember, what was that movie? I mean, that series, far, far away, or no? It was a futuristic movie. It had aliens and one guy that was trapped from our universe and their universe had a beautiful blue woman in there. She was bald. Okay.
Oh,
You know,
are you talking about Avatar?
no, not Avatar. It was a movie. It was a series before that.
I wouldn't know, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. What that series was. But yeah, I mean, bald can be beautiful, definitely. But I just didn't feel like I wanted to deal with that too. On top of everything else.
Right.
Like, no, I
Yeah,
want
actually,
my hair.
there's one guy that I used to work with. One day he came into work and he went from having a decent amount of hair to being bald, and I can't remember. His wife has a condition. I can't remember the name of the condition. Where
Areata,
that might have been it. I don't remember the name of it exactly.
where the hair just falls out.
Yeah, their hair just falls out, and it's like it falls out in patches, and it can regrow,
Yep.
but then it falls out, and yeah. So
Yeah, my mom had that.
yeah, so
Absolutely.
she shaved her head to just be uniform, baldness, and then he turned around and shaved his own head right after as a
A lot of
solidarity.
women- Yeah, and a lot of women will have beautiful designs tattooed on their scalp too, flowers and stuff like that, butterflies. It can be. They make it like a fashion thing. I mean, it's just like if a woman sometimes might have, if she has a breast removed, sometimes they might have a torso tattoo.
Right.
There's different things people can do, but yeah, I'd be happy to talk to her about that, so she knows what to expect and everything.
Fantastic.
I need these facts.
I know that she would appreciate it, and I know I appreciate it, because, I mean, she's my non-bio sister.
Yeah.
All right, well, we are just about out of time. We only have about 5 minutes left.
We talked about so many different things, and I'm sorry for my contribution in that part.
Oh, no, that's... I'm the host. I'm supposed to keep it under control, yet I always dive right into it.
Well, it's more human, probably, really. I know it wasn't very structured, and who knows how I might be the next time after the procedure.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be able to focus a little more and get more things done, because I do get distracted, and then I have to remember, what were you doing here? Finish this first, then go back to that. Okay.
If you notice, that's one skill that I have learned, is thanks to years of customer service and tech support. I had like 27 years of it. Is that I am pretty good at being able to remember what it is that the main topic is and be able to turn back to it.
Thank God. I'm glad you could. I hope I can next time, because it would be nice. I want to be able to do that.
I want to be like, eat. No, you really don't.
I struggle with it though, because it's like, could you stay on topic? Dang it! I try so hard, but I get excited about stuff, and then I want to talk about something else, and I had to force myself to. It's like, you're supposed to be here. I'm thinking to myself, I'm saying one thing, and my brain is like, you're supposed to be talking about stellate ganglion block, girl. You better steer right back to that.
Yeah, or it's like, for me, it's like you're supposed to be talking about stuff. I'm like, I am talking about stuff. No, not stuff.
Yeah, I know. Oh man, wait. Thank you for hearing me, though. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for coming on. Definitely appreciate having you. It's been
I hope
fantastic.
anything I said at all was helpful to someone.
I think it will be. I'm pretty sure it will be, at least at some point. You never know with these things.
I know.
But if it even helps one person, isn't it worth it?
Absolutely. And it's totally worth it.
All right, Charlotte, thank you for coming on once again.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, unfortunately, C had to go partway through this, so it was literally just you and me to end this.
Well, you were very nice, because you could have gone back to your family, too.
Well, I have this, and I'm like, if both Bexy and C were okay, and my son, when he threw up, yeah, I would have been like, you know what, I gotta go.
I hear ya. Well,
But
thank you,
someone's got to be here for this.
and I will be in touch about this stuff.
Definitely,
Keep you posted.
definitely, would love to have you back on. And on
Have a great.
yeah, you too. And for everybody else, on behalf of Bexy and C, I'm E. We will be back in 2 weeks for the final season of year 2 of this podcast.